we're discussing since what's the time? 3:14. Okay, we can start. So yeah, welcome to the third discussion. So we are still continuing. I think I'm going to finish this today, and then we will start the software discussion as well today. So this we discussed about the how well different search engines, right, can do same task. But then I ask you to learn about effective web searching. That is also very important, right? I hope you all do those homework so that then it will be useful for you all, right? Okay, this is the next discussion we are supposed to discuss. Now, when we say, since it's a very blue screen, I will take a white screen and then we'll come back here. We know it's web, right? Now, okay, mostly this part of the discussion is all about web, because I think whatever comes on internet, we have discussed except cloud computing. That's what like next after this discussion I'm going to take. So this is more related to web stuff, right? Now web, when we say World Wide Web, which has actually two components, right? Basically two, some text, it divides into three as well, right? So that's all three are here, but initially like we have a surface web, and then we have deep web, right? There's something called dark web as well, so like the third one, right? So first we'll talk about these two. Now surface web, deep web are two definitions are there. Now you know, I think we discussed last week, so this is a search engine, right? You have so many billions of resources, right? And then no one knows, like if you don't know the URL, right, you can't reach there. So then we said, okay, there are helpers, that is we call search engines, which they have their own database. And on the database, what they do is they keep a keyword and then URLs, whatever related URLs. And that's a huge database. And they will search and give us, like whenever we provide a keyword, right, it provides us the several URLs. So search engines are there to help us to find some resources. And this is what we call indexing. So this is what we call indexing, because this is a database, it indexes with keywords and the URLs. But if we take the real web, right, the web, as I told you, like I can break that into two major components. Surface web, deep web, right? So let's have a look what it is there. Surface web means, which is actually probably less than 10% of, like now here when we say internet, this should be full web, right? So that's why like now, this is also not my slide, I just took it from the web, right? So that's a lot of people use these two terms. Like now here, when we say web, right, wouldn't be internet, because straight away you can say that there's something wrong here, right? But that's the normal discussion, we do use those two words. So it's about less than 10% of the total web. So that's, if I draw, this is the web, right? So now this is like, this is the internet as well. Web means whatever the content. That's what now you all should understand. Web means all the URLs, right? Because that's what like through keywords we are trying to find. But internet is this, right? They have, each one has to have a unique IP, those kind of discussion we discussed. So now total web that we have here, it says about 10%, this much. Let's say this is about 10%, is only surface web, right? So that is what surface web is. It's about 10%. So just remember that. So if you take the iceberg, you can say maybe whatever you can see on top, but there's a huge part in the bottom. So then the rest mostly, right, are called deep web. It's about like 90%, right? So then don't ask at the moment what is dark web, so we'll talk about. So then, so because of that, it's not 90-10, right? Because there is some percentage as well. So if I use another color here, let's try to use yellow color. I hope it will see. So this can be the, so this will be the deep web, right? And then I use some other color. There can be some small, this can be the dark web. And then the other one is the surface web, right? So surface web. So generally when we are speaking, we say 10%, 90%, but it will be different text, like they will show in a quite different way, because that's why, like it says greater or smaller, so then it's not exact, right? And then some portion is about like dark web as well, right? So I'm not asking the exam, just tell me exact sizes of this surface web, deep web, and dark web, but you should know there are 3 things, right? And then capacities wise, like if I say order them in the highest to the lowest, right? So then it has to be deep web. Then next, if I use a line like the deep web is greater than, then the surface web, and then it will be the dark web. So first I will talk about the first 2, right? And then I will talk about the other one. So surface web means, you can see there's a nice term here. It's an indexed internet or indexed web, right? So here all 2 words, internet has to be web, right? Index means like whatever search engines will be indexing all these things. So these are all what we do normally, right? So 95% maybe some of you all, right, doing, basically it's here, right? Surface web stuff, like they are all, you can use a search engine and search them, right? Because they have been indexed, right? But then what is deep web? That is unindexed. So that is not, right, indexed. So it is not on your search engine. These things you can't find on search engine. So now what you can find, Google, okay, I will say this Google search engine, right? Whatever, Wikipedia, right? Then YouTube, right? Twitter, right? You name it, just all the things that you do, right? Facebook, right? These are important things. But when it comes to the dark web, sorry, deep web, which are not indexed, so that means you can't find them using search engine, right? So you should know them. So what sort of information that can be? So this is not in your note, right? You all have to write down. So here, surface web, you can see those things, right? What they basically day-to-day things you use. So who can tell me, right? What are the things? These are all deep web stuff. So you can start giving. So then I will explain right or wrong, whether it's going to be here, here, or there. What can be? So this has to be generally the unindexed web content. Yeah, you can try. It's okay. No need to be correct answer. Hello, don't get excited. Yeah, don't get scared. What can be deep web? Maybe some examples. Yeah. So only key here is I call unindexed web. That's all I told you. So it's not going to be something like these things then.
It's including different companies' websites.
Company websites are here. Company, I would say company here. I use the term now, public web.
So just to clarify one thing, indexing is happening, like it's not done by ICANN, right? Indexing.
Not ICANN. No, indexing is done by a search engine, because that's like whenever search engine wants to build a database, so that keywords with the URL, that's what we call indexing, like indexing the keywords in the URL. So these are all being indexed, right? These are all available. So what I say indexed, not, okay, that's a good question you asked. I asked you to speak, that is why, not available from search engines. You can't find from any search engine. You can't say, no, sir, it is not Google, but it is have anywhere. So no one has indexed this.
Isn't this basically like, isn't this the place where hackers and all these?
No, yeah, that's it. We are here, right? Okay, I'll come there. It's not, right? So that's not deep web. So if you define that, that's a wrong answer. But yeah, that is right. What you say, it comes here. So any other? Yeah, try. It's okay. This is learning process, right? So I want you all to try a different thing because you all are using web. Oh, by the way, you all are using deep web. I don't think, okay, don't know, like we are using this, right? So this is like.
The intranet used in organization?
Yes, that is correct. Intranet data. That is the that's what here you.
So like this LMS, our
Yeah.
LMS.
That's
Different
like
student portals. Okay, like a database or something like that.
that's LMS, your email service, because all are login based, because you have to log in, right? Because then those things are deep web. And what else?
Which can be protected through a password.
Yeah, we can be protected through not password, username, password, both. Yes, you are right. So LMS, your emails, right? Actually, the answer here, Gmail should be come further down. Like they have put like, this is not, as I said, this is not what I have created today only. I saw that. So Gmail is an email server, right? It is really in the deep web, right? What else that you think?
Pages and websites that are not actually linked to another website?
No. That is also ultimately they are going to be surface web.
So say I have hosted my own kind of web page on my home server, but it's not linked to the public web.
Okay, if it is intranet, that's okay. Right? That's like the word intranet means are all private things, right? These are private. But however, let's say now in your office, you have created your own blog, right? And then you say that's it's connected to the web or internet, right? So then if it is a normal website, that is a part of surface web. But if you say, no one can come to I have given username, passwords, right? Then it is a deep web, because if you have provided username, password, only those people can access. So then that particular blog site is deep web. If you are just opening up a blog and that is you are maintaining, and it's like basically it will be indexed by then the search engine bots one day, right? And then people can be searched as, so it will be indexed.
Good, sir. Thank you.
Okay, there's another important thing you do most of the time. You do now these days, right? Another
internet banking,
online e-banking, yeah, because so then you will understand actually your Gmail, right? All your mail servers, right? Because now think, what if, right? Denum or whoever, I can see the last person's name. Denum, yeah. So let's say Denum's, I can put it into search and find Denum's savings account balance, right? Because this is all web pages, remember, right? These things. So then what if like the search engine Google gives Denum has like this much of money, right? If it is being indexed, that's what we say, it's not been indexed, right? So any username login, it's not only like, it's not allowed by this, or it's not indexed by the search engines, right? So our Gmail, like how about like all your mails, others can see it from a Google search engine, do a nice search, right? So and so has sent a mail to, let's say Amal has sent a mail to Nimal, right? So then we know that he has sent. So then can I search on the web, what is Amal's mail like sent to Vimal or Nimal, right? So that's what these are. So whatever, that is what we say unindexed. Okay, are you all clear? So
some data we saved in a cloud server that.
No, wherever you save, it can be. So yeah, don't get confused with cloud. No, cloud is not going to be. But if it is a cloud or on your own server, if that content is being delivered with a username, password, as I said here, then it is deep web, because not everyone can get. And also the search engine also can't go and get your data, because it also needs username, password to get your data. That's why like it never comes, right? So these things are all search engines. Surface web means no control as such, just the content is available. It's just for public. That's why I use the term here, public. Okay, that's why like someone said intranet data, that's correct, because it's a private network. So that is your own internal intranet, right? That can be, it's not even indexed. Is that clear? And then on the internet, there are some bad guys, especially like we call hidden services, right? So people do some child abuse, terrorism, like so drug dealers, they change their money from one account to another, because these transactions are happening in a quite different hidden way. This is where like all the other law enforcement, CIA, and even Sri Lankan security forces, they also like move into cyberspace, right? And they will be searching who is doing what, right? And then some people are organizing some activities, right? Can be terrorist activities. So that's what they try to find it. So that particular space is what we call dark web, right? As well, like here I have used in this one is called Tor. This is a browser. Don't try to use, if you know that will be all right. Some people might have already used because the Tor is a browser like your browser that you use to surface web or the deep web, right? You can't use the normal your browsers for this, right? There are special browsers. And then like whenever you use without knowing, that's what I said, don't do that, because you might go into some unnecessary places, as well as you will get into trouble as well, right? Because law and enforcement might be tracking, and then without you knowing, you are trying to do something. So you also can be tagged or triggered doing something. So that's another area. So we also don't know like how big or how small. That's why like no one knows as such, but we know there is a hidden web as well, right? So that's where like sometimes people used to go, this is why we tell that, but you should never go there. Some people say it's the dark web, use the Tor browser, you can go and download that software, right? Because that's the what you call pirated software is available, right? I will talk about today how good or bad to use software like that, right? And one thing is that is also not a good thing. But however, when you go there, so they will try to trace you. So you will be, without knowing, you will be in trouble as well. They can plant certain things to your computer. Later on, you will be tackled by these law and enforcement, right? Because certain attacks sometimes happens through those machines, right? They will not get exposed, right? Whenever they try to hack a surface web like Facebook, like, so that ultimately they will be using your computer to access, right? Since you went there, right? Just recently, someone told me like he actually a girl, she has to go like to download some software, and then they are like, because she is a BIT student and she had that presentation, a project, like, so I think for some reason she wanted to get some software. So very quickly, what she has gone is choose one of these browsers and try to download. And with that, a ransomware has come. And then later on, like all her data got encrypted. Right? We'll talk about what is encryption. This is a ransomware is that. So they will like scramble your data, and then they will ask money. Until that, they will not release that data because you can't use that at all. So actually she failed her project because she couldn't show like most of the functionality of her program because it was not running. So she couldn't open. It says it's encrypted, and then she has to pay. And then it's like a huge amount, right? So that's why like, you should not, even others say, my recommendation is don't try to go to dark web, right? That's not ours, right? So just after deep web, that is, I would say like it's not for normal consumption. Is that clear? Any doubts you have? That's all about this, but the surface web and deep web. So dark web, you should know what it is, right? And my recommendation is not to go there even without knowing proper, right? Okay, so I hope you got the point. Now let's talk about a little bit, few things about again still web content. Now, whenever you have a web page, so this is another important one. This is like a bit technical side as well. I'm not going to teach you the technical side. Some people, I think I can't remember your group or the other group asked the other day some questions related to this. I said I will talk to them later. So this is like people, if guys who is asked like search engine optimization SEO, that's what I'm going to reach there, right? But yeah, we are not going to study about that, so don't worry. It's a bit more technical thing. But now if this is a web page, right? This is think about your company product page, right? This is title, right? It has nice few images, you have some text, right? There's a small video, right? These are say images, right? So there are more text here, right? There's a form here, right? And then there's something contact us, right? Details, right? So all text. So this is like a web page, right? HTML web page. Right. So whenever you have a web page, right, you will be having several things, and that's what I want to tell you all. So what are those things? First of all, there is something called title, right? A title will be here, right? So this is, let's say, a product, let's say, you're selling fruits, right? Okay, this is all about orange, right? Oranges, right? So this is just oranges, right? So this is all about oranges, right? So there can be a title here, right? Our new orange, whatever, right? That's a nice title that you have. So each web page has a title. Okay, good. Each web page will have a description, right, about this page. So this description is all about this page. So that information is we call metadata. This is a new term for you all, metadata. So data about data. That's what we call metadata. Right? So that is what is data about data. Right? So I'll take this out here. So this is really data. This is about oranges, what we are trying to sell. Right? But this page contains who created this, when this was created, right? And what, let's say, software used, right? All sort of information that we can get in another, right? Information. It can be written here, right? This blue color thing is whatever we call description. I put this here, description. But generally, whenever a client try to see this through his browser, the blue color thing will not be shown. That is for something else. Right? So this description is what we call, is not for the consumption of the receiver, because this is the web page we are talking about. So this is the server side now, right? So later on, someone will put HTTP request and get that. So then when he gets, the whole thing will be, the page will be going, the blue color ones, that is right, that is we call metadata, will not be shown or rendered by the web browser, right? That is what we call metadata, okay? So we have something called description, that's the metadata. There's another content called keywords. So this can have another thing called keywords. So this file can have set of keywords. Now you can see what is going on. That is also, I will just put it, my blue color things on this page is all are metadata, put MD, metadata. And that is also will not be shown. And then finally body means whatever the red color things, right? So that you will be seeing via web browser. So if I just, the same story, if I take a white screen and try to explain you the same thing. So this is the client side, and this is the server side. So then I will just use the black color then to draw the page first. So this is the page in the server, right? You have text, you have some nice images, so more text, and then finally you have a video here as well, right? So this is a web page. And then I'll put in my blue color again, some metadata, right? Just here and here. It's not need not to be that place, but just since I have some space. So this is, we call keywords, right? Metadata, MD, I put. So this is the description, metadata, right? So then whenever I get this thing now, there's a request going on from a client, the server gives. So now let's try to draw the same thing. Use the black color again. So this is what, when it displays on the browser, this is what you see on the browser. That is your web browser. So Chrome, whatever. So these lines will be there. I will not exactly drawing the same thing. This will be there. There's more text here and there's a video here, right? So these things will be there. So then you, what of this blue color? No, these are metadata that will be not shown to you, right? This is you, right? You will see not see. So then someone can argue with me, sir, if you don't see, like, why the hell you want to keep that, right? I will tell you what the reason to keep that, right? But I think some of you all might already got the point, right? But this is what the scenario. Is that clear? Yeah, please, if you have doubts, please ask, because this is the fundamental stuff, right? So then you can understand the rest of the thing. So now I can clear my, sorry, I can clear my drawings on this slide. So you can see, given a web page, so you will be having a title, description, which is metadata, keywords, metadata, and a body. So this is what, like, I will just put circles. These are the ones will be shown. Have you ever seen a title? Who can remember whenever you browse a web page, where the title is being shown? Who can remember? Whenever you have open in your browser tab, right? The top of the tab, you will be having a title page, right? So whenever you bookmark, this title will be coming, right? So you can have a look next time, right? Sometimes mostly you will be looking at the content, that's its body. So you always look at this, right? So these two you are not seeing at all, but you normally don't notice a title. But I have seen some of the very big companies, so they don't concentrate much about the title, right? They just put like page 1, right? Or just something, right? Very unnecessary sometimes the information or not related to that particular page, right? So they say page 1 or site 1, right? Whatever, right? Or test 1, 2, 3, right? So that's not a good thing because the title has a weight or value, right? I will show you why I say that, right? But these two metadata, so remember metadata for whom? Who can tell me? You might be able
For search engines, when it comes to indexing.
Yes, that is for search engines, right? So these two are for search engines, definitely, right? Because we know that keywords are important, right? Keywords are being picked up by that, right? But keywords you can't say like, okay, how this has been indexed, like I can't remember, like I can't see, like this is just text, like, because keywords has to be provided by the system developer or the page developer or webmaster, right? Those as keywords, right? As metadata. Then only the search engine can be, let's say this is all about oranges. And then your keywords talks about Toyota, Nissan, and Mazda, right? Sometimes like you just copy paste from some other page and you forget to remove the metadata to the right ones. But then this will be tagged under those, right? So someone is trying to find Toyota, this oranges file is coming. That's why like sometimes happens because people accidentally put like wrong keywords. So then because these are all automated, right? No humans are looking at, but there are some AI stuff is going to be used and they will check that. But however, if not, like it will be displayed so that if you see something wrong page whenever you are searching for a keyword, so don't blame Google or the search engine, blame that particular site designer because that person has made a mistake. That is why you are getting that wrong page as well. Okay, so as you will be always concentrating only this. You're seeing this. You will never see this. You will never see this. But this you can see, but a lot of people don't look at it, right? But that is also you can see. There are two things here you can see. Viewable to the end user I'm talking about. The other two are for search engines to use them for indexing. So like if I ask in the exam, what is the purpose of this description and keywords on a web page? So these provides information for indexing purpose for search engine. Yeah, you get full marks, right? By the way, this slide is not for exams, right? Because just about like, if someone asks how to provide that, that's where like you can see meta name. You can see here, this is like we talked about tagging language. HTML is hypertext markup language. So the tagging for markup language. So this is how like a web designer will give meta name, description, content, and within that you have to give the content. Metadata, keywords, and then the content, you have to give the right keywords, right? So now, do you all know how to find the source code or source code of this web page? Right, you can try to see that as well. Just right mouse click and then say view source. Right, try this and then see whether you can, okay, without knowing anything, right? Just try to see whether you can search for meta name, description, meta name keywords, and then you can have a look and see whether they have put the right keywords for this particular page, right? So each page, they have to have separate ones because from this only, that bot is going to read this page and read this name and then read this description, and then check the title, and then check the content, then only it will start indexing, right? So this is all automated. If we don't provide these things, just like you can't expect that these meta tags will be used properly, right? So here I'm saying meta tags are supporting almost all the browsers, right? I think you will be using this browser, this browser, this browser. Some people, this Apple people, or like Windows IE or the Edge browser, right? So yeah, just I showed you links. I will never ask you to give an example or write down that, right? Because I don't want you to know, but just I would show you how easy for you to check, right, these things if you really want to. So, and then the search engine, right, basically, so given a search engine, so if this is a search engine, right? So it's like this is a page that we have, right? We are talking about a page that under consideration. It goes here and it reads the keywords, and then it creates a description and check the title. And then this is the content. So it all checks, and then only it builds this database. That is what we call indexing, right? So indexing will be done by looking at, so it knows what is the URL that it went on, because it goes one by one with the IP addresses, right? And then it tries to put it into database with keywords and this that we discussed. So this is all automatic, right? So this, how well you do, like if you give keywords, description, title very well related to this URL content, right? So the search engine can do quite well. So search engine optimization is something like that. Like, so how well you can organize your pages, show that, so that like when a user types a keyword, right, and then particular your page will come on the first page or as a first answer, right? So that is what we call search engine optimization. So each and every website designer or web page owner has to think of this search engine optimization. So I'm not going to teach you how to do search engine, right? But I'm expecting you all to understand what is search engine optimization and why it is important for business, because then only you can reach a product to an unknown customer base, because they will start searching and you will be there, right? So that is what the scenario. So then in order to do that, yes.
So like it's all depending on the metadata that you
That's
include.
right. Yes, very good. Yes, metadata. So who puts your sysadmin? Yeah, your web admin, right? So this is like your company. And then this is your webmaster. So don't expect that Google to do that, right? So your webmaster has to provide this page enough information so that the bot which is coming from, let's say this is Google, right, can get almost all the information and index very well, so that another user, right, whenever he put a keyword, right, so whatever this particular page will be coming for him, and it will be on the first page of the results, right? So that's why, like, that is also a good question I should have asked, like whenever you do search, how many pages you do search through when a result comes? So 1 page, like 2 pages, 3 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages. I don't think you all are doing that, right? So I think if I take a vote, probably most people say less than 3 or less than 5 sometimes, right? But answers might be some other place as well, because some of these webmasters has not done well because of that. It's not been ranked, right? This ranking is very important, right? So how the process of ranking by search engine is what we call search engine optimization. So in order to do that automatically by the search engine, so the webmaster of that particular page has to do his work properly. Okay. So ranking of web pages. So yeah, don't worry. Like I think this is just some text. I took it actually from Google, but not all, right? So these are some important things. I just put it to one slide. I don't want to teach you all search engine optimization. So in a search engine optimization, so these are some important things. Let's say, especially Google will be looking, but don't think this is only, right? This is just a few things. Order of the keyword term appears. Keyword term that appears sooner in the document listing or index tend to be ranked higher, right? So it's like you have keywords, and those keywords has to be in your text as well. Frequency of the keyword. Keywords that appear multiple times, right, in a document index tend to be like, let's say your keyword is, I think orange is not a good thing, right? 2021 model, right? Like this, maybe Toyota, right? So then you will talk about more. But however, you know, this is like free or like Viagra or like this, trying to get the same word, like so many things. So Google has its own thing, like if it is more than some number, they don't tell that. So they know that is spam, and they rank you negatively, right? They will never show your page because they know this is a spam page, right? So you have to be genuine as well. So there is an N number. So I also don't know. So if you go through very well, you might be able to find that. Because that's why like you should not repeat the same keyword more time, but having multiple, it's advantage. They know there is a weight on that. Occurrence of the keyword is the title. So that's why like importance of title. You have some keywords, but maybe your title also reflect towards that title, towards that keywords, right? So then only like the search engine will be ranked. So rare or less frequent keywords. That's why like you should try to use some rare or less used keywords to put this page, because then only like your page will be unique, because that keyword has not so many answers like than thousands, or like earlier I showed 485,000 answers like that. You will be not getting, like if you have some other keywords. So likewise, there are so many things that a search engine will be looking in order to rank, right, is web pages. So that is how you get like in the first instance or second instance. So it's all about not Google, right? How you provide information to Google. Similarly, other people also will be doing that. So there is a fight, of course, right? How well. So that's what like as now decision maker, as a CTO, CFO, right? Or CEO, right? Or like whatever management hierarchy. So you should know it's very important, because our business is more on internet now, right? More on web, right? We are doing online, right? So then you should try to understand the importance of ranking, importance of search engine. So you have to train your IT guy, search engine, not you to learn, right? So you should know there is something called search engine optimization. So that you should, if they are not really aware, so you have to put them to different courses or ask them to follow something, get some certification, so that you know they will manage your website quite well. That's the important part. Okay, if you all want, there are so many tools. This is one tool I can recommend for you all to measure, right? So https://web.dev, right? /measure. You can go there later on, right? And when you go there, it will ask put a domain name or URL, basically, not a domain name. Now you know domain name is not full part of URL because content has to be there. So URL, and then when you give URL, it will give a ranking like this, right? Performance wise, accessibility, best practices, and search engine optimization value, right? So now these are actually real two banks. I won't say tell you the two names of the banks, right? Because I have removed those things. I hope I have removed, and you can't see that because I don't want to like public that, but this you all also find, right? And whenever you find, you know, what is this bank, because you can try few banks and then sometimes you might get similar answer from there, unless they have changed the day I just did, I think before I sent you the slides like a few days back, right? Because I sent you like 2 weeks back, right? So these are the figures. So you can say, let's say this is your bank. This is your competitor bank. 5B, your bank, this is a competitor bank, right? So you can have a look, right? Okay, their performance is better than ours, right? Their accessibility is better than ours. Their best practices also better than ours. Their search engine is not good, so our search engine is good, right? So only like these three are not bad, but this is good, like they are. So then you have to start to improve this, right? But then definitely these things has to be improved. So it's not you have to do that. Your IT department has to do that. So when you go there, there's a lot of other information, what to do, and so many information this provide. So these are free ones, but there are paid tools as well that they will provide you more information, and they will give you like do like this and do like that as well, some recommendations as well. So then maybe your IT department says like it's about like $200, like shall we buy that tool because it's very important we can get. So I think these are things you should be knowing the importance of that. Maybe you say, okay, go ahead and buy that because $200 is more important than like we are getting more more exist on the internet, like better SEO, right? Better accessibility, right? Better performance, better best practices. So that means we are going to be ranked well as well. So through that, I can make more than $200 income, right? Or so that's where like you all should understand, right? So that's what I don't want you all to teach you all how to do search engine optimization, because that's where like IT department is there. But from decision making point of view, you should understand the importance of that and then guide them proper, right? And then you should know as well whenever you are being the final authorizer like of certain things, right? So then you will be looking at. So I'll take another scenario here. Like last time I took example with your, this particular question also I have asked in a different ways in certain exam papers as well, right? This is something similar to the 3,000 rupee discussion we went on internet, like who will be getting that money, right? Similarly now, this is not same example. So this is your company, right? And you want to get a website, right? Because you want to go online, right? And doing some internet banking or e-commerce, right? That is what now. So you hired a IT guy. So IT guy is being hired, right? He can develop web. So he's a webmaster as well, right? Or like you can get a contract, like ask them, okay, how much you charge to build our website, right? Remember, building website is one thing, but of course it has to be maintained. If not, like no point of. A lot of people think, okay, let's build a website and they just put some money, right? Thereafter, they don't maintain, but there's no value, right, on that particular website because it will just outdate very quickly, right? That's why I say you have to have people, right? But let's say now this guy either hired or like you outsource, whatever, right? So you are asked, okay, create our web pages. So then this guy will take few months or few weeks, right? And then he said, okay, these are some pages. So I have created, let's say just a simple one, right? Just only 4 pages. So they showed me page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. This is whole your site, let's assume, right? The website is more than that, depending on the business. So then you can ask him to show the pages. He has very nice colors. These are like he's using our company colors, right? So the text is very nice. Like the presentation of the slide, this web pages are very good. So then let's say his whatever X amount, right? Rupees. Don't pay that whole amount because he has done that, right? Because this is look and feel is good, right? You can say I'm very happy about whatever you have done, but that is just I would say 50%. Right? And then the next 50%, I would say like SEO. It is like how well he has done this, right? That's where like you can use those free tools, or you might be having tools, right? Or you can ask this guy, okay, you have to give me a report on the search engine optimization, how well these pages have been designed. So with that, at least with some ranking, or you can later on you can learn as well. Like when you see, just go to that particular URL I gave you, and then you can go to a very good, like you feel like this is a very good website. That's what like you feel. Okay, then you can put that and see what's their figures, and then you know what your company, and then you can see how well. Then you know, okay, this is not acceptable way. Or at least you can give this report to an IT guy, right, and ask, okay, is this a good thing for that? I can pay the rest 50,000 for his development, right? So then that's where, like, as a decision maker, you can make real impact to your organization, right? So that's where, like, if you don't know about this thing, you say, oh, very nice page, let's go ahead, right? So we paid everything. The wrong thing is it's not been indexed properly, right? It's not been used real best practices. So then, of course, you will not reach whatever you were expecting. So remember that. That's what, like, these things I'm discussing with you all and try to understand. And knowing a bit of technical stuff is very important. But I'm not recommending you to, like, from the course point of view, as well as in a normal life as well. So you don't need to be a good search engine optimizing technician or like a person, right? But you should be having one, or you should be able to use one of them, and then you know how to measure that and how to understand that as well. So these are two popular banks. So these are their figures. So that, of course, there are a lot of room for them to further develop as well. So that's where, like, so same thing you can do and try your company website as well, right? And then check like similar website of your competitor website as well. And then only you can see, right? Hope you got the importance of the search engine optimization. Finally, like one or two, these are not very important, like search engine optimization. A lot of people ask, what are these cookies? That's why I just put 2 slides here. So cookie, because web-based is stateless. What we mean by stateless is, now I have to draw this, keep on drawing. This is client and the server. So whenever you request one page, right? Let's say page 1, right? You won't do like that, but this HTTP request goes on and then you get page 1, right? So later on, like you want page 2, server can't like give you like, okay, or like once you request page 1, he will give you page 1, but you have been requested. But you, if you want page 2, he can't give, you have to again request. That means server is not keeping a track on what you are reading, right? He gives whatever you ask, that's it, right? That's what we call stateless. Like the web is stated, the browser does not maintain a connection to the server while looking for those pages. Like, so then this is the real guy who is reading that, right? So later he read this and then, okay, I want to go to this other page of the right over here, another link, right? So then you have to make another request, then it will come, right? So, and so it goes on like that. So basically web is a stateless protocol we call. It doesn't keep whatever you did. That's why like in the bank also, when you are doing internet banking, like if you did a transaction, let's say you did a fund transfer to something, like it can't think, okay, you are going to do another fund transfer to another person, right? Because you are used to do that, right? But no, you have to do one by one, right? To make it some statefulness, right? The servers basically, not you, right? The servers use cookies, right? Servers use cookies, but cookies not inside the server. Server uses that. Server goes and put the cookie now inside this computer. That is the client computer, right? So that is what a cookie is. Some information about your name, right? The last time you came. So then that's where like, okay, Saman, nice to meet you, right? Because then how can you, like, he knows that I'm Saman, right? Because then, but I have given my name earlier with the form, whatever he asked, right? And then he created a cookie and he stored in my computer, right? Whenever I connect next time, so this is page 1 is day 1, let's call, right? Sorry, day 1. So then there's another request, day 2 you are doing. So now he can check your cookie, right? Whatever is been placed here with day 1, and then he can take some action on that as well. So yesterday you were here. So are you happy with us or whatever? So you can see all sort of things can be done. That statefulness can be taken with cookies. So cookies are that. So it just try to store your some sessions information on your computer, not in the server. So server creates that and it puts into it. Yes.
Who creates the cookie? That is the web design. I mean the
web server. No, web server. So now let's say you goes to YouTube, right? So YouTube server put a cookie to you. You come to your e-bank or your bank, let's say ABC Bank. So ABC Bank will ask like, okay, when you logged in, okay, you can take the name, right? So then last time you logged in, this is the time you came, right? So all these things, it can written to a small file. Cookie is actually a file. That file will be sent and save it on your computer. So it's created by the server and it's been placed at the end of the session, right, into your computer. So whenever you go next time, the server can read the cookie on your computer. Okay. The cookie is always kept in the client machine. Is that clear? Do I have another? There's something like this, right? So this is not all cookies going on and cookies coming, right? This is a request goes on.
Like a history in cookies are same?
Sorry?
history and cookies are same? Or?
No. History is something like this is your history. You went to this side, you went to this side, you went to this side. That's what we, as a history we keep. You don't keep it like when you go to one server inside, right? Yeah, this is kind of history, what you did in that particular server, right? Let's say you went to your bank, right? So bank, one bank keeps a cookie, right? What you did there. You went to Alibaba, right? And then Alibaba keeps another cookie. So there's another cookie here. So you can have several cookies, right? Each cookie relates to, so then your bank can't read Alibaba cookie because it is written by them, Alibaba. It knows how to read, like there's a sort of a format or kind of like its own structure is there, right? But this information read by the same server whenever you next time you visit. It's like what you did last time was recorded on a sheet, and that sheet is always kept not at the server, kept at you. Whenever you next time log in, it can read. So technically cookies are arbitrary pieces of data, right? Chosen by the web server and sent to the web browser. Web browser means client, right? The browser returns them unchanged to the server on a next instance, right? That's where like the state. So without cookies, each retrieval, you don't like the server doesn't know about you. Okay. So cookies take the stateless web into some sort of like information, right? So that's what we call breadcrumbs on the browser. But session IDs are there always. These are random numbers, right? The cookies are coming. That's where like other person's cookie. Some, let's say you have two banks, bank 1 and bank 2. So let's say this is cookie 1 and cookie 2 relates to bank 1 and bank 2. Bank 1 can't read bank 2's cookie, right? And the other way around. These are not possible. It can read only its own cookie that it is being saved by that particular. So this cookie is for them. This cookie is for them. And so cookies are with the client.
So, sir, it is an extra feature provided by the web.
Yes, it's provided by the web server. So this particular web server provides that. So if they have cookies, right? That's where like your browser says like, okay, this has cookies, right? So shall I save that or activate that? Like if you really don't want cookies to come into your computer and save, you can disable cookies on your browser, right? So that disabling is here. You can't disable on the server, right? You say disable cookies. That means it will not go and bring cookies here, right? So these will not come there, but these cookies will be there. It will always try to see. Then since you have configured such a way to disable, right, it will not come. But some banks and things like that, you have to enable in order to do our transaction. So then you go and have to enable it because they want to keep the, but sometimes when you do e-banking, right, that cookies has to be enabled because then only the transaction history can be kept. Because if there's some delay or something happens, that the bank can retract like whether that was the transaction he or she is doing, or like the bank is doing, right? That is what sometimes people are like, some servers ask you to enable cookies. So yeah, these are like when you use the internet, you leave something behind, small piece of information about the sites you have visited, right? These tidbits, whatever, right? It's like information are called cookies because that's where like they are being called cookies, right? And while there are many sounds of deletion, they can also get quite dangerous as well. Okay, why is that, right? That's where like, so a lot of people say cookies are not good. Like, who can tell me, or like some, like, I think, are there people here who are disabled cookies? Can I have yes or no?
Doesn't it track you?
Yes, it track you, but only that server, right? Because
and they can sell that information, right?
not really. That's, they can sell something else, right? That's like your Facebook history and your emails. That. But cookies are not that much of information compared to Facebook and email. This is all about what you did when you are in this particular server, the transactions you did. So it just keeps a record in the cookie one, right? This bank keeps some records. what you did in the cookie too. But it's not cross-sectional, like you have to use your cookie to read, right? So in that case, that's not that bad. So it's not to sell, like basically this cookie does not have much like what you do within that particular website. And this website do not want to sell that to anyone because that is with separate server. That's why, like, don't get confused now. Now, whenever you are logging to Facebook, right, all your information is with Facebook. What you ate yesterday, whether you went to this lecture, and then like all the feedback, right, while the lecture, what you did, everything you have updated, right? And then Facebook can take, and then for profiling you, that it can sell. But here selling is not happening because this is that maybe your bank, right? It does not want to sell your details to someone else because this is all what he did within the bank. This is something else, right? So that's why, like, whatever question I think Ahmed asked, like, so it's two different things. Don't get confused. Yeah, this is just, this can be YouTube, even whatever you are watching. So then it knows like what sort of taste you have, because last 10 minutes, whatever you are watching. So if YouTube is making a history about you, okay, this is this kind of a guy. That's where, like, then later on, they try to push similar ones to you. They know that, okay, this is your taste, right? And then that taste can be sold to someone. So this is a guy who always talks about, let's say, vegetarian food, right? And then those companies will be getting your details, and then you will be getting flyers and more offers from them because YouTube has identified you are a vegetarian food eater, so that that can be sold. But bank is not going to do like you always do transactions. You always do some deposits to this or transfers to this particular organization, but they don't want to give that information. I think generally banks or whatever that particular organization not interested, but Facebook, YouTube, you name it, Gmail, right? So these are very good examples to sell your data. Okay, yeah, like I asked, so some of you all might have disabled cookies. How many people have disabled cookies? Yes. No yeses? Like everyone has enabled cookies? Oh, you don't know whether I have enabled or disabled, right? Yeah, you can check that on your browser settings, right? That is, a client can do that. Now, I can ask like why people are disabling cookies. And earlier also I said, so this is you client. Okay, so this is not the server. This is you client. This is a server, right? Now, whenever you make several visits, and I just draw like that, and then you get several things, and then this is the cookie file, right? The server has given that, right? So let's say server 1, this is server 1's cookies. If we are going to server 2, as I told you earlier, server 2 cookies will be there. Now, this will be consumed by this server only, right? Not anyone else. But people are scared or like not enabling cookies mostly because now this is not you. This is someone else. Someone else is putting files to you, right, onto your hard disk. Right? Of course, web is also like that because whenever you request, you give, right? Similarly, since because you request, it is giving this cookie. But since it is storing, some people say that, okay, how about a virus will be coming as a cookie by the server. And later on, it's like a Trojan horse, like it can execute on 1st June each year, right? So then you are storing a virus, right? And then you are doing, but however, cookies are not like that. Cookies are actually text files. So these are not like a virus executable files, but there is a possibility. That's where like a lot of people have argued, okay, we should not allow servers to write. But however, some servers say that in order to do the transactions, you have to enable cookies. So then either chicken and egg, or whether you have to go with that or not, right? So you have to, it's a life or death, right? Rather than chicken and egg. So life or death, but it's really not that, in my recommendation, it's not that dangerous. So I think since most of you all are, if you're not 100% sure like what a cookie can do to you, you can, my recommendation is disable, right? Disable generally. But whenever you go to a particular server, if the server recommends you and your server is, you know that server is, you want to do some transaction, right? And that is what you have come to that server. So then if the server asks you to enable, so then enable them, right? So whenever you want, enable cookies, right? So that is what I can recommend you if you ask what my recommendation. But however, having cookies on, don't think it's a huge problem. Right? There can be, that is the main issue. But however, it's very, very important for certain servers. They always want that because they have to do transactions. Okay, so that's all about web and internet. Right? I hope if you still have any questions, I can take. Now let's talk about cloud computing. Now, cloud computing here, this is just the first slide is all about like, this is a computer, like single PC, right? When you have hardware, you have an operating system. I will talk about operating system later and applications of these are your applications. This is, let's say you want to write a letter, right? You need MS Word. Then that's an application. So then you are using Windows 10 operating system and then particularly this hardware. This is a normal PC. Similarly, we can have a kind of this is a normal PC. So this is a high-end, I would say, high-end PC, which have like a very powerful CPU, big memory than previous one, right? And then you need operating system and application, same thing you need, right? But you can have another extra thing here, which is we call, okay, VMware is a product, by the way, so it's called virtualization layer, right? So with that, okay, next slide, I think I have that name, hypervisor we call. So this particular thing is called hypervisor. So with a hypervisor, right? So here you don't have a hypervisor. This is a normal PC. I got it here now. PC. This is a high-end. I put H here, not that H. High-end PC, right? So operating system application. You can have several operating systems, right? When you have a hypervisor. This is also a software, by the way, right? Hypervisor provides like more than one sort of computing. So these individual ones we call a virtual machine today. Virtual machine, right? So for short, we call VM, right? So VM means like this high-end PC can do that. So this context is what we call, this is not cloud yet, right? So this is how cloud has started, right? So people got this virtualization. So virtualization means that's what, like, if I ask what is virtualization, you have a powerful hardware than a normal PC, right? And when you have a hypervisor software, so you can create several, not three here, right? You can have several virtual machines, right? Several virtual machines. So that's what like virtualization is all about, right? So if you want to write it down, so virtualization means you on a high-end PC, right? When you put a hypervisor on top of hardware, and then we can create several virtual machines, like several machines, like these are virtual, that's what we call VMs, right? Several machines, so that we can do several tasks, right? So it's something like this, like, so you can have several virtual machines, right? So now when we do that in a massive scale, that is what we call a cloud. So cloud is nothing but like huge storage, so many servers, so many CPUs, right? And a lot of networking together. And then you can provide like maybe hundreds of or thousands of users to use that particular resource. That's a huge resource. Right? That is what we call cloud. So cloud is coming from virtualization. So when you do in a massive scale the virtualization, we call it a cloud computing. Right? So that's the term has evolved with virtualization.
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask a question?
Sure, sure.
What is this hypervisor? I did not get that part.
Okay, hypervisor. Now, okay, that's a good question. I think now okay, clear again here. Now you can see here. So this is like I'll try to draw like color, and then I just try to get these VMs, right? Show this, and then I say this is Nimali is using, this is Kamali is using, this is Sunil is using, right? So these are 3 VMs, like 3 machines, right? So you all can, 3 people can use that. Now, if you look here, the same hardware, right? So hardware is being shared by these 3. Right? So who is doing that? Hypervisor. So hypervisor, that's like a good question you asked as well. It's not here in the note here. So what is the role of the hypervisor is to provide resources, right, or manage resources to each virtual machine, right? So that is what a hypervisor is doing. So this is a software hypervisor, right? So that this resource pool is being controlled by the hypervisor. Then only separate operating system and applications are running on top of that. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we don't have a hypervisor here. That is why like you can do only one task, right? So same thing, like we make it more resourceful, and then we put a hypervisor and trying to share that resource. So actually important thing here is like, okay, now you might ask, okay, what is the important part here? Now, if Nimal, Kamal and Sunil wants to have 3 computers, I might spend more than this for hardware. Okay. So what I did was, because some, let's say Kamal is doing night duty and the Nimal and Sunil is doing daytime, right? So then, you know, like at a given time, I need only 2 people are working, right? Need not to be like that. This is a simple scenario I just took. So however, so that I am sharing the resources, but I want to show you that, right? So then with this way, I can reduce the cost. This is actually cost reduction, right? That is what virtualization is proposing. If not, like someone can say, you should have given 3 computers for the 3 people, right? But this 3 can be 100 later on. It can be 1,000, right? So then whenever we are sharing the resources, you might see that there is an advantage. Then your cost will be going down to maintain or keep that, right? Rather than giving individuals. So that is the main reason here. So like in the cloud, it's doing in a massive scale, right? So that's where like we will be using same resources, right? But not at the same time. So that ramp, let's say we have, the customer has 1,000 users, right? And then, you know, like average only 800 only active, right? So, but you have sold for 1,000, but you know that you have a capacity of for 800 only, because at any given day, any time, right? That is the load that you normally get. So then 1,000 customers are happy because they get a reduced cost, right? And you are happy because you are making some money, because for the 1,000 you are investing about 800, right? Of course, these are in the cloud, it has to be very flexible, right? So then this can even go up to higher, and then can reduce that as well. So like advantages of cloud computing. So cloud computing is, in general terms, like it's a network-based computing, because that's what, like I said, it is a part of internet. And then without internet, you can't connect, because now in that particular example, that particular server is here, that is a cloud server. Nimal is here, Kamal is in US, and Sunil is in Australia. So they all, you connect through internet and do this in this particular, right? So they are sharing here as well, certain things, and even files can be shared. So that will be their working environment, right? remember in cloud computing, so now this is also kind of client server, everything is sort of, this is that server, right? So client basically connects, and now here it's not set up like what we earlier we did in the web, right? You do work in that particular server, but you need to have a device, right? A device has to be there, a connecting device in order, because without that you can't do the task here, right? Because you have to give instructions from that. That's where like today people said like, okay, tab came on that, right? Because tablet is the best device, then you can, but today tablet, laptop. And then of course, phones are, because today phones are very, very powerful, right? Can be done. So that's why like each and everyone need not to have a computer, right? Because they are running all over the country or all over the world, right? You give a device and then it's on the cloud. So they can do on the fly, wherever, right? So that's, that advantage is there. If you give a computer, right? So they have to carry that as well with them. But then a smaller device, tab or a phone, or even a laptop, that will be good. So that is another advantage you can get from cloud computing. So cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient, on-demand, right, network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. It can be anything, network, servers, storage, we'll talk about that, even applications, right? So it can be rapidly provisioned, that's important thing, and released with minimum management effort. And also, there are different service models, right? We'll talk about that, and different deployment models as well. How a cloud can be deployed, we will talk about. How, like what sort of service models available for cloud, that is also we are going to talk. That's what like my next two topics with respect to cloud. So basically cloud is a convenient on demand, right? But remember, you have to have several things. Without connectivity, you can't do cloud computing, because always it's in a remote site, the user, right? So a user should have a device, right? Some device has to be there. Don't think that it's on cloud, you can't do anything. I'm not going to give you any device, because that's not the case. So there has to be some device, right? So I would say tab, laptop, or phone, right? Like good phone, right? So you can. So then you can take a lot of advantage, and it will be rapidly provisioned, right? So those things. Now, for example, let's say these days, people are talking about like all these PHIs, like COVID reporting. So, and then like, let's say giving a laptop for each PHI. So what we can do is you can have a system done, and then they can update how many cases are there, how many infected, and whether it's serious to be hospitalized or whether they can kept at home. So all sort of information can be like maybe we can give an application which will be on the cloud. So they will be use a good phone and they will be given. So then probably you can do the things, and then from the back end, right, the health administrators can take decisions, right, whether to close the country or not, right, and those kind of things, right? So you can say like there are a lot of advantages you can get. So in addition to those, right, the platform also provides always on, because its cloud is always running, right? Anywhere, right, you can access anytime, right? So I think anywhere, any place is also there, right? Anywhere, any place, right? Whatever you name it, right? Anything, right, is possible. So that's one thing. And the other one is pay as you need. It's elastic, right? That is scale up and down is very easy. For example, let's say this is a cloud, now this is a cloud service provider. I say cloud service provider, CSP, right? So this is you, you are a startup and you got some business, right? And you need 50 computers, right? So they can provide, I will show you like what sort of computers, how they can provide you that, right? So that's where like that I was talking about like in the previous slide here, deep service models and deployment ways, right? So we'll talk about that. So you need 50 computers. You can ask from a cloud service provider, can I have 50? Now we are working with those 50, right? So of course you have 50 connecting devices. So like, don't think that, okay, I got it, 50 cloud virtual machines, right? And now just do it your work, but then you have those 50 people have to have connectivity with a mobile device. That's why, like in the future, with 5G coming, with 5G with a phone, so you're almost there, because this 5G phone means it's a very good phone, and then you have automatically internet connectivity with 5G is very high speed rather than what you have now, 4G plus phone, right? So this is a quite different change, right? And then, so just whenever you have been hired to this organization, the company will provide you a very good phone with a 5G connectivity. That's all. And then a VM, right? You can say now, okay, some of you all can work from Kandy, some of you all can from Anuradhapura, it doesn't matter, right? As long as you can deliver the tough stuff. So now you have 50, but now due to Corona, you got a lot of the orders were not getting, right? Or whatever the computers need not to be used. Now this is, let's say, month of May. So month of June, right? You need only 10 computers. Just you can tell the service provider next month from 1st June, I need only 10 VMs, right? I don't want. So that's very easy to scale down, right? So they will charge you next time for next month, 10. The following month, July, you might need 100 because you got like unexpected, because you were doing quite well with that 10 in the month of June, and then you can. So this is what you can see. But let's assume the same thing as a startup. You purchase now 50 computers and you are running, and then your less orders, and see like your investment is going to be a huge at a risk, because that 40 computers, either you have to sell or give it to someone to use in a hired way, right? If not, it will be just your investment is not getting any returns, right? But if you went for cloud, you are making, right, advantage. And yes, so scaling up and down is going to be very, very easy. So that's also another big advantage. So then the hardware and software, this cloud available to general public, enterprises, corporations, business markets, just you name it, anyone, right? You just not like to say only Haley's or Mars can use this, because this is your huge investment. Yeah, there are different deployment models, right? There are some, but however, cloud, there are different deployments are there, because of that there are some deployments are quite good, right? So that it's very cost saving, and especially for startups. So that is one of the very important things. So this is one of the slides, I took it from the web, right? However, yeah, you should know, right, some of these things. So why cloud computing? Because you can get, it's 24/7, right, support, and it's working, and then pay you as you go, lower TCO, right? And then reliability, scalability, all these there. Secure storage, lower capital expenditure, right? Frees up your internal resources, right? And now let's say rather than running a network operating center, right? So you have to have power. That's like that day I was talking about, like you have to have a web server. So then you have to think about power, AC, people to look after. So all these headache can be given to the cloud operating cloud server service provider. And yeah, highly automated. Yeah, you can see like so many things like utility based, right? Easy and agile deployments you can do. So device location is independent, so need not to be in same location. You can go anywhere, right? So all sort of information is coming, right? Sorry, advantages are getting, right, when you are using cloud. Now here, I didn't talk about, like a lot of people do talk about this topic, security, right? I'll come there, right? So like except security, like okay, when you talk about security, a lot of people have some concern on that cloud computing, right? But there are lots of advantages you are going to get. Now, because I will talk about security, just talking about some service models as well. Now, these are the most popular service models that we are going to have, but there are several other service models as well. So any textbook will have, this is called infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, like IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, or SaaS, right? SaaS is very popular. Now you might, first I will tell what it is all about this. Now we have hardware. So this is actually not we. So that's like, let's say you and me are here, users, we are going to use cloud. So this is the cloud service provider. Will be having hardware, and then he has to put some hypervisors, because then only they can hypervisors, and they had to put operating systems. We talk about one machine, right? Operating systems, right? And then only they had to run whatever the applications. So this is what general scenario, right? So if this is A and this is B, they won't use, A wants to use Windows Office, right? So then Office package and Windows operating system through hypervised hardware they can use. So he is using that. Whereas B is using for Gmail, WhatsApp, and those kind of things. So then you have to have just a web browser only, right? And then operating system hypervisor, you can get it. Now, we normally call hardware as infrastructure. This is a term, right? Infrastructure. This is similar like when we're talking about this internet also, I said that is infrastructure as well, right? It's like hardware. Hardware is more infrastructure. And then this hypervisor OS we call a platform. That's what the three names, platform, right? So platform. And finally, this is the application, right? Or application, we have another name called software, right? That's what we use the terms, right? So software, platform, infrastructure, right? So whenever we say infrastructure, always remember that it is all about hardware, right? So nothing but just hardware. So up here. Whenever we say infrastructure, infrastructure is hardware. Whenever we say platform, remember it's all these things. Huh? That is operating system, hypervisor, hardware, because then whenever you purchase something, you get everything from bottom, right? So then SaaS means you buy everything from bottom to top, right? So it's that if I say numbers like 1, 2, 3 as layers, when I say infrastructure as a service, only 1. Whenever I say platform as a service, 1 and 2. When I say software as a service, say 1, 2, and 3. Is that clear? Okay, now I'll open up my slides. So this is what, right? So infrastructure as a service is basically storage and compute capabilities like hardware. Platform as a server means that you get an operating system, right? So when you get a platform as a service, remember, you don't have any application. You have to put your own application. Sometimes people buy that. Why? Because you have purchased a ERP solution. It's already purchased. Its license are with you. So then you don't need to buy a SaaS ERP, because then you have to pay for that. And then you are paying for this already purchased ERP. What you should purchase is up to here, right? I don't want any application. It's with me, right? Give me a PAS, and then I'll put my software on that PAS. Now it is working my ERP. So you have to pay for the ERP, you have to pay for cloud service provider as a platform as a service. So let's say you are a company where you never buy hardware, right? So you always say we buy IaaS, right? You buy hardware from a cloud service provider. So then when you buy, remember this is just cloud service provider gives you a VM, which is a hardware only. So it doesn't work. So then you have to put Windows, right? 10 or whatever, Windows 10. So you have to have licenses for that. On top of that, you will be putting Office software. So then another IaaS you buy, you put Linux, right? And then you can put another software here. So that's where like, so whenever you purchase infrastructure as a service, remember you have to put the rest of the things to make it as an end user, because users are on the top, number 3, right? so these are the three types of things you can purchase from a service provider. So you can see here, computing and storage IaaS, and deployment like platform, like just you have the operating system and everything. So then you can get a platform as a service, and then software as a service. I'll give you another example. I'm IT guy, let's say, I'm not doing this, so don't come and ask me. So that's like one of you, as your company said, okay, so like we want to develop a website, right? And some the e-commerce application. Can you do that, right? So let's say I can say, okay, I will do it, right? And then let's assume like I have only my brain, like I don't have a computer at all, right? I have just a tab, right? That's all I have, right? So how to develop this, because it needs like some resources, right? So then what I do is I will go to one of the cloud service providers and say, okay, give me a platform as a service, right? So then I get 1 and 2. So then what I do is like I get some software development, like there are tools like Java or some software, right? Which you don't have to pay actually, right? You can download them, right? So then I will install onto this computer, and then I will start developing this software for you, right? So that it has, I took about 3 months, and then I have developed this. So for 3 months, I have to pay for the ISP or CSP, actually, cloud service provider, for platform as a service. So my package is PaaS. Now I have developed. Now what I can do is, this is developed for you. I can sell this. I can say my cost is, right, this much, like I need, let's say 100,000 for the software development. And also I will be handing over. So you said like, okay, so are you giving me the software? Yes, I am giving you the software. Sorry. I'm giving you the software. And now I am giving not a platform as a service, right? I will give you software as a service kind of, right? So then that means I can sell, my development thing is, so every month you have to pay something like this. This is where like I can get for development, and then every month you are using. So that's where like you have to be careful on those things as well. That's one model. Or as you can say, okay, why not you, like we will give you 250,000, right? So you just give us the whole ownership to that, to us, to our company, right? So then I will finish off my engagement, right? So then I will give that software, but for you, it is a software as a service, this company, right? You have paid me now 250,000, but you have to pay, because this is already paid, like most, like, let's say like 250,000 goes for that part. But then every month you have to pay for whatever the cloud service provider, because to keep, because you are running that not on your hardware, it is on a cloud platform. So then you can say, even though you are using software as a service, because you paid separately and you own that part, but you have to pay for the cloud service provider a platform as a service, because you are using its platform and the hardware. So I know there are some companies, they never buy now hardware, because you know, hardware every 3 years, they will be outdated. You have to just look into, like some people say, okay, we will buy hardware from a cloud service provider. Right? So then you have to no headache, like buying them, procurement, after that, how to throw it off, like whether to give CSR or whether to sell them. So all sort of things, and keeping them, right, space. So everything is on the cloud, right? You give each person a tab every 3 years, that's all, right? And then basically you ask them to work from there, right? So then you have to pay, in that case, IaaS, right? If you buy only hardware. If you buy platform and then do that, then you have to make it platform as a service. Remember, when you say platform, both together, right? A lot of people say it's only platform. No, because how can you pay only platform, because without hardware, right? Because you can't have your hardware and get platform somewhere else, right? Both these things together, right? And then you can put your own application. But whenever you are using today, like O365 or even your Gmail, that is just, you don't have anything, you don't have even software, right? What you are doing is software as a service. So next slide, we'll talk about those examples. So here, whenever you purchase only hardware, there are like Rackspace, right? And GoGrid, right? GigaSpace, right? you can go and buy IaaS, just only hardware, right? Remember, you have to remember you have to put an operating system and platform to work, and then only like you can get some application, and only it will be working. So that is we call IaaS. Then you can get platform as a service, like unless like you have some software purchased, or like you are a developer, that is where the most important thing, right? Today, Cloud Azure platform is there, because when you get Cloud Azure platform, you can, it's a development platform, but then it is on the cloud, then you get hardware as well. You need a connecting device only, right? So don't think you get only that platform, right? So both. So that, and then finally, software as a service is where like Salesforce or like Office 365, you name it, whatever, right? You are getting. Yeah, today, like cloud service providers are Sri Lanka also we have, like SLT is called Akasa, right? It's a little bit above cloud, right? So this Akasa they are using. So you can see they are using IaaS, PaaS, right? They have SaaS, they have something called DaaS as well. I think desktop, probably desktop. This is also getting popular now, desktop as a service, right? That means like whole desktop, like your computer is everywhere, right? Just like kind of a SaaS, but it's a desktop as service. That today they are giving e-learning, so many things. You can go to their website, Akasa, right? Akasa.lk, you can have a look, right? So that is operating in Sri Lanka, right? So other example I showed you in the previous example, I didn't put there Sri Lanka because just I want to have a separate one. So even Sri Lanka here, SLT Dialog can provide this here as well, right? And then Dialog has Cumulus. I think Cumulus is another name for cloud as well, right? It's a more scientific name, right? So that also you can see here they have IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, right? So go to their website and study what else they have and their prices as well. So whenever now you want to purchase, right, either hardware only, IaaS, hardware with the platform, that is PaaS, or like just full package, like I need, so you go and tell SLT or Dialog, I need an ERP solution. Right? Of course, then they will say like, okay, sorry, we can't give that because we don't develop software. We are a service provider only, right? So then what they can say is, okay, we can give you a platform as a service, get another software development company, and then of course you can use it. So then you don't have to buy anything, right? It will be on the cloud. But then when you go to Akasa or Cumulus and say, I need an LMS, right, server, because for our new training programs, okay, they have, because you can see, I think Dialog also might have, because they have SLT e-learning, right? So then they can say, okay, we have a product, we can give you everything. So then it will come as a SaaS, because if the whole thing is coming to you, it is a SaaS. Right? If the real application software is not available, that's going to be PaaS, right? Just only hardware, IaaS. So it's very easy to remember, and you know what you can do. So today, there are some companies I know in Sri Lanka, they don't spend a cent for hardware. Okay, they have to spend some, not a cent, because that connecting device, right? But as per se, computers, right? So no hardware boxes like computers, desktops available for them. So everything on the cloud, right? So easy to deploy, right? Easy to pay whenever they use, right? When they don't use, like if they have fired like 25 people because of this corona, so that they can straight away say that 6 months don't charge, right, for less 25, so then reduce cost. Okay, so this is actually, okay, I just put a URL here, you don't have to remember anything, I will not, like, not exam related. Just NIST is a National Institute for Science and Technology of USA. Just I took that because when I was just looking at something, I saw this. This is like they are one of the definitions about cloud computing. So I thought maybe it's not bad to have it in my slides as well. That's why I like, so that's not related to anything, like this URL doesn't have. If you really want, I hope it is still there, this page, right? This is just, I want to say, like, this is their definition. So cloud has, okay, it's not that clear, service models, SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. But then there are desktop as a service, right? You name it, right? Something AAS, will be, right? Don't call as, right? But some, I will put X here, right? Can be so many other things can come here later on, right? But these are quite similar because either you can give hardware, you can give up with the hardware with the platform, or you can give everything that is, right? And then, yeah, the key characteristics, right? On demand, measured services, rapid elasticity, broad access, broad network access, resource pooling. So these are the main key characteristics. So if I ask you to in the exam, write down 5 key characteristics of cloud computing, you can create and do like this. I do that. And I know like almost all the students get full marks for that question because they sometimes create, but unless it is very stupid answer, I will give you marks because you can just think and write because that's what you feel like, what a cloud, right? Even though you are not using, you can feel that, right? So this is the only thing I have not discussed with you all. The deployment models. So cloud has, these are the service models, what we call, right? So the service models are as, right? Whatever, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, right? These are service models. So deployment model is how you deploy. Now, you can deploy your private cloud. So this is where it's going to be expensive. You have to buy your own resources, hardware, right? And have a network operating center, have people, right? So this is where like my mass holdings or Hylis, right? Always my examples can take them because they can have private cloud. But of course, most people can use public cloud. So public cloud is quite good, right? Because you can get a lot of advantage, right? So I put a star here for startups, right? Startup or new companies, startups, or like most other organizations, you can use that, right? So now, okay, I'll take a new slide, and this is where, like I said, I will talk about another point, right? Cloud. So this is private. So this is public. So now this is where like we have to think about the security as well. So one thing is because of security and things like that, some people prefer private cloud because then it's all within them. So this is like an intranet, right? In that context, right? Because within Hylis or MAS, right? It will be, that's their cloud, as well as they can have their web servers, everything, right? This is a very nice typical intranet, right? Of course, that you can take advantage from security side as well. So public, there is a thing like, because you can see like it is on some other place, right? But because of that, a lot of people say security. But now, whenever you have your data on some other place, right? It's security because always you can have a service level agreement, right? SLA, right? Service level agreement with that cloud service provider, right? And then, of course, they will guarantee that because generally, when you say resources and okay, can I draw on this? Like just some areas, right? So these are your own areas, right? So that this is yours, this is someone else's. Even though you are sharing resources, the cloud service provider take maximum measures to protect your data from others, right? Not to breach this way or that way, right? So they will actually, when you go for a service level agreement, you don't have to worry too much, right? So in my context, what I say is, from business point of view, yeah, security is not a big threat, big issue, because as long as, yeah, these are legal things as well. So when you give service level agreement, so that that service provider provides you that, right? So then you are basically covered, right? If something happens, right? Let's assume there's something happens, it's possible, right? So then you can take legal action, right? So this is where, when it comes to that level, now you are, we are all Sri Lankans, no, right? So Sri Lankan cloud service providers and then overseas cloud service providers, sometimes there can be some issues like whenever you hosted in another country to take legal action, you might not be because the data is residing in some other, and then our acts might not be able to take legal action there. But that is, then you have an advantage if it is in, as well, like some organizations prefer to have it in the same country rather than a different country from legal point of view. So you will be having advantage. So that this is another consideration when you are trying to pick the service provider for your cloud, right? Whether to get a local or a foreign. Because then your service level agreement can be more effective within that domain, right? Or as these people might say that, okay, no, we will treat it as it's in Sri Lanka. So then there will be, that will be all right as well, right? But now security business, I would say, okay, go ahead. But then a government, right? Or especially like forces, right? So I will say there is a concern, right? Because what if like Sri Lanka army keeps all its right data, and then it's, let's say we have some terrorist attacks or whatever, war, small something is happening, right? In that case, like this Israel and Palestine these days, right? What if like Palestine is all the data of their army, right? In one of the USA, right? Cloud service provider, right? So then, yeah, because cloud service provider can have access to that, your data. That is just, you can't say that, no, we are, because that's like, because that is where like when we are operating a hardware, so that we have access to that, right? So if I want to take a backup of the hard disk, because I can do that, take that, right? I can say that with SLA, I will not do that, right? But from business point of view, that's what I told you. But in a government or like forces, like let's say they are helping to Israel, and then they can take, okay, this is the next attack going to happen, right? So that if they can take, right, there is a threat. There is a threat, right? So for a government is also like at this moment, like because they have different countries, different treaties and other things, so they can see what's going on because they can monitor. So I would say security is not a concern for business, right? Because you can be protected, right? So that's where like you have to be thinking whether it's local or foreign, right? From the legal point of view, right? But government or forces, yes, definitely, you should have your own private, right? Or as at least your local service provider. But forces, I will say private only, because no, it's an intranet. No one can come and try to hack your data, because cyber security is another concern, right? So yeah, private cloud is very important in that context, right? But yeah, all businesses you can concentrate on public. So if you have any concern or any questions still with security or any cloud thing, you can ask. Or is that clear? Looks like. So then let's move. Now, I think I talked about two, private and public. The hybrid is something similar. I think I have a slide here. This is a hybrid cloud where you can have maybe it's a 70 to 80% private cloud, right? Your own things, right? And then you can use a public cloud as well, right? For example, let's say you are using Gmail rather than having your own mail server, because Gmail is a cloud, public cloud-based service, right? So all your ERP and other things are there, but your users are using Gmail, right? And then you can have a connectivity. So this is what someone asked, I can't remember this group or the other group, virtual private network, VPN. So VPN is a connection that we can have. This is called virtual private network. Virtual private network. That is VPN. It's a kind of a pipe that we connect, right? So that in a secure way, right? Between your intranet and the cloud service provider so that we can connect and communicate. Okay. So that is also possible today because sometimes running your own mail servers might have issues. But however, if you went for private cloud, right, because of your security concerns and things like that, right, and then going with Gmail, right, that is also like your, because all your details mostly, like even though you say it's in the ERP systems and everything, but within mails, anyone can capture that because with your mails, you know your customer base, like a lot of attachments are copying here and there, right? So that's like to study about your business, to profile you, who you are, right? It's basically Gmail is enough, right? So that's where like even I would say like if your main concern is security and you are talking about private cloud, so then even your email server also should be here, right? But some people like these days, like they said O365 we are using, right? So then O365 is a public cloud thing, right? So then what you are doing is you are through a VPN, you can connect to that and then you can have a hybrid cloud. Okay. So these are those, like private cloud, you have to do it yourself. Public cloud, it's very cheap because it's share. These were done by mostly now ISPs are being converted mostly to cloud service providers now. Right? Hybrid cloud is basically private plus public. Right? And there's another one called community cloud. So I will explain that in the next slide. This slide is basically public cloud, private cloud, some definitions. You can have a look. And then whenever you have some advantages here as well. So this is hybrid cloud. This is where, like I said, VPN stuff, like so VPN is virtual private network that basically will provide you connectivity. Now, this community cloud, this is a special thing. Community cloud is something like this. Now, for example, I think Central Bank of Sri Lanka do not allow banks, local banks to, right, have cloud, right, especially public cloud. So they have said no to public cloud. I think private cloud is also like up to some level, like I don't know whether that's been like, there was some people said that now they have given that okay, but not to public cloud, right? It's a good way of controlling as well. So central bank is doing that. So these are local bank. So then let's say this is bank 1 and this is bank 2, right? So they have their own cloud, right? So their core banking is happening here. So their core banking is here, but not connected to internet because this has to be private. This is also private, right? If they have given, right? If not, like you have to run it as not on, like, because private cloud is okay because going public is the issue, right? But now, check clearance, right? So we can have a different third-party organization. Actually, this is Lanka Clear. No? Lanka Clear. It's a company under central bank. Then they are providing sort of a kind of a hybrid mode. Like this is kind of a public, but it is not to public. This is only to this sector, banking sector. Right? This is public, right? So I would say private public here, right? Private and it's public, like it's a private, but not private to one, it's public to within that group, right? That is what, rather than say private public, so we call community cloud. Right? So when you have a community cloud, so this kind of thing can happen. So then these banks can use a cloud service, right, for clearance of checks, right? Now, just draw another one. Again. For example, this what is this ICT agency has LGN, no? Lanka Government Network, and then it's, with that they have LGC, Lanka Government Cloud, right? So then all this kind of a cloud, right? So all these organizations, they can share that, but only like, let's say at the moment now, I think RMV, and then all emission testing companies, and then what is this, the insurance companies. They are all integrated. So that's why like through that, we can renew, like as a customer, you can come there and then renew the license, because then RMV talks to the emission test. First you have to go there and the report has to be available, and then insurance has to be active. So then RMV can check that, and then they can issue the revenue license, right, for the whatever the year. So these are there. So like, for example, Ministry of Education can create a cloud, right? I don't think there's any cloud. So then they can provide LMS to each school, right? So it's not they are going to use any other public clouds, right? Because that is not good, because all Sri Lankan data, all the students' details, everything is there, right? And we don't want to give that to everyone to access. That's very, very dangerous as a country, right? But MOE can have a cloud, and then they can provide learning facilities as well as teacher control systems or like management systems, whatever, right? So that is what we call a community cloud. So if I read this, a community cloud in computing is a collaboration effort which infrastructure shared between several organizations from a specific community, means specific type, right? MOE type of banking, right? Whatever, with common concerns, security, compliance, jurisdiction, right? All these things, whether managed internally or by third party, it will be. So that maybe MOE can say, no, we have outsourced to SLT to run that, right? But that is a MOE. That's why, like, I think SchoolNet, can you remember? CHOO, SchoolNet was there, that I don't think now it's active, right? So that's another thing they work. That's like a community cloud, right? So that is very good. Like, so that's where like security is more concerned, right? But from business point of view, like you don't have to worry anything. Okay, finally, I think I have come to the last slide. Okay, but still, if you have any questions with respect to these two terms, internet and web, you can ask. Right? I load the other slides. Looks like you all are there. I can hear recently asking any question, anyone? Are you all okay? Or all lost in somewhere in the cloud and
okay, sir.
okay, good. Thank you. Whenever I see your name, I think ST Jayasuriya comes. Jayasinghe. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next point. Like here, I'm going to talk about software. Right? So first thing I want to tell you is the cost of hardware generally goes down. If you look at CPU price, office performance, CPU, whatever the speed, right? And then after some time now, right, the same one is pretty cheap, like compared to that price that we had earlier, right? So remember, hardware price is going down, but unfortunately, the software prices keep on going on, right? So whatever the ERP solution we buy for 1 million, now it's 2 million or 3 million, right? So it's where, like, I think when you're decision-making process, you have to have a keep an eye on this about software, right? So a lot of people always knows much about hardware, they know what to do and they know how to save money and everything. But when it comes to software, they do a lot of mistakes, and that's where, like, we will try to discuss that. But now software. Now I will give a quick introduction to a computer, right? So then you will understand. A computer is something like this, right? When you have something given as input, it can do some processing, and it can give an output, right? So in order to do the processing, it can keep it like that we call memory, right? Memory or workbench area, right? And then basically this is how things happen, right? We give input some maybe attendance of people and then some other rates. It will process and give you the pay sheet, right? Now, this is where like we normally call CPU, central processing unit, right? But then there are so many other things also involved, but CPU, that's processing part happens with memory, right? And then it goes on. Now, if I ask software is required where? Because, oh, sorry, I draw it again. Okay, process. Output. Just to see memory. Right. Where do we need software?
For all functions?
Very good. Well, for all functions, right? So this for this here, 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 here to process it, right? So input software is required for all the places. So because of that, a lot of people think, no, only we need processing software. No, we need software everywhere, right? So, okay, let's be keeping in that mind. We break software into two major categories. One is system software. That is like given the computer, the system has to be controlled, right? That is what we call system software, right? Or rather say system application, system software, I would say. Right? And then the other one is called application software. This is where like as users, you want to use things, okay? Because system software contains what we call the OS, operating system, right? And there are a lot of utility software that we will be using, right? Utility software is also under system software, right? And language processors, right? So many other things are coming under system software. Application software is what the end user wants to do some application, right? You are to write a letter, right? You want to do some graphics processing. That's where like you need, right? Now, given a hardware, so if this is a hardware box that you have, right? Let's say your requirement is write some letters, right? So then you can say, okay, let's buy MS Office and put it here. It should be working. Really not, because MS Office will not work because to control hardware, we need system software, which is we call the operating system. So system software is always required. Then only we can have the application software. So that's always remember that without system software, right, you can't have application. So I have seen some specifications have been prepared by people. They buy specification to buy hardware. They have specification. They said, okay, we need this software, but they have never thought of system software. But then when it comes that you can't get it working because system software also another expensive software because you have to pay and get it, right? It's not free, right? Of course, there are some free ones, but however, pirated software is not recommended to get it free, right? It's like you have to pay and get it. So always you have to have a concern about. So in none of the application software will be working without an operating system. So with operating system, you get other utilities, device drivers and language translators, all sort of things, right there. So if I say this is the hardware, to control hardware, we need system software. Then only you can work with whatever application software, because application software has to talk to hardware. So whenever you say, I want to update my CV today, right? So my CV is on a USB. So then when you plug it in the USB, it has to read it right to the computer. So then you need to access the hardware. And then finally, once you do that, it has to be put back to the USB, right, for saving. So you can see hardware is always involving with the application software, but that is done through the system software. Now, in the previous slide here, application software, you can see here, only two subcategories are there. That is general purpose and specific, right? In my slide here, this is my own definition, right? I would say application software has three parts, same thing, but a bit different. This is general purpose. General purpose means what? Like MS Office, right? Some other like web browsers, things like that, right? And then you can have specialists. Specialists like you can say, for example, MATLAB, because for scientific computing and calculations, CorelDRAW to drawing something, right? Or AutoCAD to do drawings, right? Those kind of are specialists, right? Just buy AutoCAD and use it, right? So here off the shelf sort of, right? This is, but then this is also off the shelf. But then third category, that's what I would like to categorize these two with off the shelf and tailor-made. So tailor-made. Tailor-made means this is your ERP solution. This is your attendance monitoring system. This is where your payroll system, right? So these are, I would say, this is not tailor-made. This is not like off the shelf. This is tailor-made. It has to be designed for you. Right? That's why, like, I would try to categorize application software into three categories. Two of them are not tailor-made. They are off the shelf, like general purpose, very, very general purpose ones. The other one is specialist ones, bit expensive, right? For special purposes. And then finally, you have to design your ERP, your payroll, your attendance monitoring, your something else, right? LMS comes here because learning management systems you can buy, and sometimes if it is like need to be customized with something, then it will be tailor-made because you have to get the LMS and then work with the attendance system and this and that. Then it will be more work to be done. So then it will be tailor-made. These are some slides about, like, yeah, I said here useless, like, because without operating system, a computer cannot work, right? Always remember, right? So in one of the examples I have said, like, you have got a new computer, you've got application software. Can you use? The answer is no, because you have to buy system software, or you have to, rather than say buy, you have to have at least, right? Because either you can buy or you can get it. There are free of charge things as well, right? You don't need to buy, but we'll talk about the next part of this. But again, not proprietary, right? So I will not recommend anything. So these are some examples of operating systems. Windows, you know, all Windows 3.5, 3.1 to Windows XP to Windows 7, Windows 8 to Windows 10, and then Linux and Apple OS. Android is also operating system because your phone is using the Androids, most of your phones, unless you are doing iOS, right? This operating system is a very simple command-driven operating system. This is where, like, Bill Gates started working for IBM computers, right? So this operating system, that is, we know now we call DOS prompt only, right? Within Windows we have. So these are all examples of operating systems, right? There are other things as well. So then application software, as I told you, you can categorize into basically general purpose and specific purpose, or both are off the shelf, and then tailor-made ones. Yeah, system software summary, there's operating system is there, right? Then if I ask, what are device drivers? Who can tell me? What are device drivers? Oh, it says allow IO device. IO means input output. Okay, this, sorry about that. Input/output. Allow input output devices to communicate with the rest of the computer system.
Software for like printers.
Very good. Yes. Now, like, let's say this is because then you can understand that. It's like this. Now I told you, now we have a hardware. This is particular hardware. We put an operating system, let's say Windows 10. So now it can operate this all hardware. Let's say we purchase this 2021 Gen. This is the purchased Windows and the machine, both, right? So this is like, now let's assume you are going to plug to this USB a printer, right, which was manufactured in 2021 May. It's very new one. So then this operating system might not know how to do that, handle that, because that is not available, this hardware, when the time of this was being created, this operating system was being created. So then what will happen is whenever I plug it, this one, it will not work because it will not be able to understand this, right? This is like more protocol thing that we discussed with internet, right? Now this hardware has to communicate within the computer. The operating system is the main control of that, both, right? So then what we do is with this, in those days, it used to come with a CD, right? A device drivers that we can install, or today just plug and play. Like basically when you plug it in, so it will detect the new hardware and then it will push you to a website, and then there's a URL and it brings the required part of operating system. So that is what we are getting is required part of OS. That is for this particular printer. So that this particular OS is going to be upgraded with that, right? So device driver, you can say it's part of operating system, right? Which is related to a particular hardware. So that your answer is correct, right? So any new hardware, if it is not supporting, especially new ones, has to come with device driver. If the device driver is not there, the operating system will not be able to detect that device and operate accordingly. That's why, like, sometimes people say that they use, we call generic device drivers, DD, right? Device drivers. But then people say, but even though like it's a printer, like you can't put double side because it is not working, right? So whatever I do, like it says we purchased as a double side printer, but you know, like I can't ever print this double side. There's something wrong. It's really not something wrong. You are not using the real operating system for that, right? So that is because you are using probably a generic device driver. It is for single side printers, right? So you have to get the specific device driver, right? If it is not come with a CD, then you have to look at the model number and go to that particular website of the product, and you should be able to say that download the device driver, and then it's an executable thing that you can execute that on your computer. So then it will be added to your operating system. So then it will be start working properly. Okay, so I think you should have a good idea about the device drivers as well. Other things, I think language translators, I will talk one or two slides later, right? The rest, I think it's understood. And application software, like main characteristics, if you're looking at application characteristics, main characteristics of application software is it has to be user-friendly, easy to use and intuitive, and minimum training, you can do that. As well, like if there are two word processing software, so when you are evaluating which one is better, right? Or let's say software 1 or software 2. So I would say like you should be looking at like whether it's has more user-friendly interfaces, right? Easy to work, easy to train people, right? And then enough documentation is there for us to understand. So that is what you should be looking at. And general purpose packages, as I told you, like these are some examples. You can write any more, right? And the graphics packages, like education packages, scientific packages, those things. Tailor-made, as I told you, like ERP, right? And then payroll systems, anything that which is very much relevant to your organization, right? Customers. Now remember, the computer hardware here can understand only ones and zeros, right? So whenever we have, that's what the operating system is there to control this hardware, right? So always we have this path when a user is there, right? So he communicate with the applications of this is where MS Word, right? So then MS Word to work, you need MS Office, right? And then it will be communicate with hardware. So there are very few we call graphical user interface and shell, right? Where you don't need a special application software, straight away you can, right? And then you can communicate through the operating system. Like you can copy a file, right? So if you know the copy command, right? Copy a.txt file to b.txt, you can do that, right? So the copy command will be there. So you can copy this file to as this file. So this is without using any application software because this is because shell or the GUI, because you know in the GUI you do with transferring file to one directory to another directory, those things you can do.
So excuse me, sir. So shell
Yes.
is also shell means the different commands we use.
Yeah, different commands you can use. Shell. This I can say this is where like you call DOS prompt. Some people call command prompt as well, right? So command prompt is that. So you can issue commands straight away to that, right? Shell. But GUI is like when you come to your desktop, like you do, like you double click on something, it will execute, or like you can drag and drop to some other place. They can create a directory and move somewhere, right? That's where like, so these operations are happening. Actually, they are utility programs of operating system. They are not an application software. That is what I want.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, programming. Now, yeah, I said earlier languages, like now programming, now I will go here and then I come back, right? Yeah, and this is a good example. So that, because I told you inside the computer, right, it can understand only this language. Now, a program is like, you can't write everything like this. Those days in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, people had to write programs like this. It was very, very difficult. That's why like we couldn't see much usable programs at that time, right? So with some languages like, so I don't want you all to understand this on the slide, this particular slide, right? What it is here, I will never ask, right? This is also not really a part of an example. So this is, you can see something, total is 0, cases is 0, perform, average them, right? Until cases equals 100, display, and that is the end, right? Whatever you can understand something, but can you all understand anything here? No. So this is the language the computer can understand. This is the language we can speak straight away. And then this is where like the translation has to happen. So now there are different ways that we can write these programs, that is we call languages. So we can write a language, but it doesn't work because you have to convert that. So this is the converter is called a compiler. This is a converter. Convert this source code program into, we call object code. Object code means machine language, right? Code. So if you say even machine language code, that will be all right. I can remember one of the like exam papers, 100 written, so I can't remember the name, but it is the machine language code, right? That is correct, right? That is all right. Right? You don't need to remember object code if you couldn't at the exam, but as long as you can tell that, it will be good. So this is a converter between source code to object code. It's a color compiler. So if I use a language called Java, it is I used to write the program with that, but then I had to create a compiler called a Java compiler. Right? Then only it will be converted to machine language. So any language always it has to have its own compiler. Right? If it is VB, it has to be a VB compiler. Right? If it is a PHP, it's a PHP compiler. Like that, you have different compilers to convert a programming language into it's object code. So this assembly is early stage, like which is more closer to programming language, like machine language, right? This is like machine language, right? So those days we have to write it like that. But later on, these fourth generation languages like Pascal, C, Java, VB all came, so that we can write more into a better form rather than in a machine language. And then we have to convert or translate them, right, using a compiler. Right? That is what the compiler's role. So compiler is a program that converts all instruction, the source code, into a machine code, right? So that's then only the hardware can be used to execute those executions, right? Have you ever seen an object code? You might be, because whenever you download, a lot of people say that's an exe file, executable file, right? So I think probably Acrobat exe you might have downloaded, and then you double click on that. That means you are executing the object code, right? So double click means you execute this object code for Acrobat. And then what it happens is it installs to your computer, and later on you can use Acrobat software to open up PDF files, right? So that's where, like we say, so you download that. So generally you work with, so object code is basically like this, right? So like this. So you can't see anything, right? And see, in the sense, like you can't understand anything. You can see things, right? If you really want, but don't try to look at it, because it's like a object code, like it's a executable thing, right? But if you really look at it, it's something like this, right? So that's where, like you can't understand anything from an object code, right? That's what we call an executable file. So this is a dangerous thing when you're downloading unknown things, right? Even this cookie thing, when I was telling, if an exe file has come to your computer, right? If you execute, if you double click on that, it will install to a computer, right? It will not then Acrobat, it will be a virus, right? That's where, like it's very easy to execute these days, right? The exe comes as an attachment of your email. Without knowing, you just execute, because today from the email you can just sort of like execute that, double click when you click on that, right? As well, like you can say that do not execute from the mail program, like Outlook people, you know, like you can configure that, right? So then in a way safe, because if you really want, you can download that and then you can go to that particular directory and double click on that, but you will not accidentally do that, because any exe file executes, you don't know what will be installed, because we can't read. We, in the sense, even IT, like you have a PhD also, but I can't, right? Because this is all object code, right? Machine language. So we can understand. So because of that, you have to be very careful when you download things. So like people say, don't download without knowing, right? And proper place, like if you are downloading Acrobat exe, my recommendation is go to Acrobat page and then download from there. Don't go like it's not available on other places as well, like you can get it very fast, but then it is very fast means it might come with something else as well, right? So you have to be very careful when you're downloading exe files, right? That's where, like today, a lot of people start saying that, okay, first thing is they say my computer is slow because they have just putting unnecessary things. And then I just told you an example. Actually, last week it happened to one of the students, just downloaded some exe file and uploaded, and then it's a ransomware, like basically just it scramble your data, right? Basically hides your data, and you will not be able to get, and even I can't do that. It's very, very difficult, right? And that person only can do that. So then you have to pay for that person, right? So you have to be very careful when you are downloading exes, especially people who are using Outlook. Like I will recommend you to configure, like even read a blog site, like how to do that, or there are enough YouTube videos how to disable auto executing, right? So that that is also another good thing for you to look into, right? So that is about software. So software, we have broadly two things: system software and application software. System software, basically, this is where like the operating system, right? I put OS, and there are some utility programs as well. And then a few more others, language translators, like you can get, right? So this is the most important operating system, because without that, system will not be working. So application software, I said there are three categories, right? General purpose, specialist, and then tailor-made. Right? So this is where like all Office, things like that, MS Office and other things, right? And this is where like MATLAB, Acrobat Reader, I think general purpose, sorry, I made a mistake. Acrobat Reader is here, but MATLAB or graphics processing things, right? All these things, right? And then tailor-made can be your own ERP and other things, right? So then any of these software, right, will come as object code. That's where like 10s, straight away you can install. But only thing is, humans do not have much idea about inside of that, right? So that one or any of these things to install, right, you have to. But if you have the source code, which is the written code, so then you have to come through a compiler, and then only you can get the object code, right? So here the main advantage is when you have the source code, you can understand. Here, when you have the object code, no understanding. No understand, right? Yeah, any questions on that? Software, this is the sort of like categorization.
So one question.
Yeah.
So compiler is a software that written by any language, right?
Yeah, good question you asked. Yeah. Now, if it is Java, this program code, it has to be Java compiler. Yeah, maybe chicken and egg issue comes here. So can you use then Java program language to write this program? Because compile is also program. No, it will be written in a different way. Yeah, it is also a program. So generally, most of the languages are not like for a fee. Like, so that's, I say languages are free, right? And then compilers also free. Okay. Programming languages are free and compilers are also free. Like, so when you want to, yes.
What is the word which is under that general?
General, like anything, like any. Now, okay, let's try to write since you asked that. So MS Office. Okay, this is, I will put 1, 2, 3. So under M, MS Office, just let's write 2 or 3 things. Probably maybe I can think of asking this exam also. Write down 3 general purpose applications. Who can tell me? So I will tell 2. Acrobat Reader. Just you have to think like generally you use, right? Software. Can be web browsers, right? What else? Even today, I think, yeah, there are some software you might think it will go specialist or not. For example, now this one, antivirus. It's kind of today have become a general thing, right? Because everyone wants to have an antivirus, right? So then it can be general. but it is kind of a specialist as well. So someone can argue with me, so that maybe if you put it there also, that is not wrong. But here specialists are like AutoCAD, and then what is this Corel Draw, and then even Photoshop, right? So those kind of specialist capable software. So tailor-made is your own whatever design things. Is that clear?
Where does music players come?
Music players, I think, are good. VLC, and those are where I think it should be general purpose, because VLC, music players, DVD players, these are all general purpose. Okay, any other questions? Right, so then let's move. Now there are a few things. Now remember, a software can come as source code as well, with source code, or can be with object code. Remember, when it comes object code, right, that means you don't get source code. When you get source code, like remember, you have to use a compiler, and then only you can make it the object code and put it to the hardware. So if this is the hardware, right, can you see the colors? So to put it here, right? So this is how most of the time you will be getting code. Right? This is, I will say 90%, or even your case 100%. Because you just download the executable, right? And you double click on it, right? Because this is how people used to give code, because no one can see how internal works. If not, like, people can duplicate. This is like blueprint is not being shown, right? So that is what most of the time. But then if someone is giving source code, means you can have a look on that. Right? So that's one good thing, is then you know what it is. Whether there's a virus inside or not, you can see it here. Because if you're not you, maybe IT guy can do that. And then they can compile and give you the object code. Now you know this, just object code is nothing, because I have seen the source code. My IT guy compiled it and I got this object code. Now without any issue, you can. So that's why, like, sometimes people say, don't install any software. Our IT department will come and give you, or like you can download from our IT department intranet, right? Because then they have created these object codes. So this can be, but not all software can be done that, because IT department will not be able to get the source code, because most of the vendors, for example, Acrobat Reader, you won't be able to get the source code. They will not give. MS Office, they don't give. They only give object code. So then there is no other way. You have to get it from the right organization. That's why, like, if you're downloading MS Office, download from Microsoft side, right? Don't down from some other side. Right? So that is very important. Now here I'm going to discuss when you acquire software. So there are different ways of acquiring, right? So acquire software. So one thing is called freeware. I think most of you all are using that. Again, I'm not 100% okay. Don't take me a recommendation for this, because freeware is generally free for all. That is for all of us. But remember, it's copyrighted. Now that's another important thing. All software, maybe you have to write down, so that I should have another statement, but now you can write it down. All software is copyrighted. Right? All software is copyrighted, means there is a copyright owner. Right? When you buy hardware, like when you buy a Dell machine, that's yours because you paid and got it. Right? Remember, software, there is a copyright owner. Right? So all software, there's except only one category. I will discuss that with you all as well. Right? So except one category, if you want. So when I say all, that's why I put a star. Right? All in the sense like there's except one category, all the software are copyrighted. So that's where, like, any freeware software is copyrighted. Okay, it's free for all and distributed machine readable. You can write now object code. Right, so that is machine readable format means object code. So we get most of them are like that, right? So freeware is a software that is available for no monetary cost, right? Because they don't try to earn money from you, but they will give free as freeware, right? And it's a loosely different category that has been no clear accept definition. Although, yeah, I will talk about SFF. That's an organization and basically there are some issues like coming up because this can be now this freeware can, I would say can, right, have some unwanted stuff as well, right? So I'm not saying all, and I think you have downloaded Skype you are using, Acrobat Reader, right? So many other, right? You name it, like almost all except like the operating system because you purchased that, right? And which came certain things. Even your browsers you download, right? All are EXEs, right? So this is what we call freeware, right? So you can use freeware as long as you know they are safe, right? But some freeware can come with some unknown stuff as well. So that viruses, Trojan horses, or like even this malware now, like coming as this is encrypting your thing, right? So this is like after, like you can purchase software, right? So when you purchase also there is a copyright owner, right? So like let's say MS Office, before Office, like let's say Word, so MS Windows you purchase, Windows 10, and then you purchase MS Office, let's say, right? And then maybe probably these are the two things you have purchased, that is most of the time, right? Mostly other things you might have just got as freeware.
So one question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between licensed software and unlicensed software?
Yeah. So any software is a licensed software. That's why like copyrights comes with a license. So how you give the copyrights? Via a license. Okay. I'm talking about licenses. Let me see whether I can discuss with you all today. If not, I will discuss next time. I think I might be. So license is that. So I said all software is copyrighted except one category. Right? So all software has a license except one category. Is that clear?
But most of the place there is some software they can install without any copyright or any license. No?
Yeah, that's right. Now, yeah, you don't need license, right? Because here now, now let's take, okay, that's a good question you're asking. Now I say this has a license. Now Acrobat has a license, right? But it having license or copyright doesn't mean that it is you have to pay, right? That's why like now copyrighted software, right? MS Office, yes, it is copyrighted and it's for a fee. But here Adobe Acrobat is copyrighted but free. Okay, but both are licensed. I think whenever you are installing, can you all remember you get a page when you double click on that and say some tick box here and say accept, and then say accept. That is basically you. Have you ever read whatever the text here? So that is the license agreement. Right? So next time when you are installing, right? Sometimes you have to be a legal person to understand some of the terms there, but it will be there. Right? So,
yeah, but sir, sometimes when we purchase a computer, so they are install the license Office, but sometimes they like some software, but some software they are charged.
Yeah,
But they
that's right.
have,
Because
yeah,
no,
but
no,
they have, but some software, the same software, we don't know to purchase. There are some places they can install.
yeah, that's right. Okay. So now when you buy a hardware, so there are ways that you can buy with the software. So then you have to pay for that as well, right? So then when you pay for, like, let's say a Dell laptop, right? You will be getting Dell laptop with the software. You have ordered MS Office and whatever other things, right? You have to pay that, right? But then if someone like from a small organization, like you go and buy a hardware, then they said, okay, you can use this software. That is pirated software. That is like they break the software's operations, like because proprietary software, right? Then they are giving as a pirated software. So pirated software is not allowed, right? That's why you're not supposed to use them, right? Especially in a business organization. If you have, right, today any computer, right? Today, remember, Microsoft is really taking a lot of legal action. There are a lot of big companies also have to pay, right, a lot of penalties, because at any time they can come into your organization. Let's say you are a reputed organization, you are using MS Office and MS Windows as well, and you have 100 computers, you have purchased only 50 licenses, right? You say the other 50 that these people gave me, but then they will charge you from the date that you have purchased, or like they take a legal action, and because you are not supposed to use pirated software. So Microsoft, one of the key organizations, they do raids time to time. Sometimes they call us as well to go with them, because they get a court order and they go with police and their team, and then they take IT experts as well, because they only like to get the recommendation they were using without licensing, right? So with that, they take legal action, right? So that is possible, right? So if you are an individual, you are quite safe on that, because Microsoft is at the moment not coming under individual, but Microsoft Sri Lanka, they are going with companies. But what you are saying here is when you purchase, you can get software, but that also has to be paid software, right? Or else, because generally no one installs you unless you ask them, like let's say Adobe Acrobat Reader is today required, right? And that is coming as a freeware. So if you know the guy, they can say, okay, I will install you and give it. But if not, like, you have to do it as end user. This all freeware, it is not coming with a computer. You have to install, but remember, they are also copyrighted. If you still have a question, you can ask. Then there is another category called shareware. It is also given as mostly like copyrighted, right? So I think I have to write, I think it's somewhere here. It's called copyrighted. That means it gets, and then this is object code only, right? It's copyrighted object code only, but it is given freely for a trial period. So thereafter you have to pay, right? So a lot of people use these trial versions, right? And then it says 90 days free or whatever, right? But thereafter, as well, like again, sorry, if you read their license agreement, right, you can see that they can take legal action, right, and whatever, right? So whenever you put this tick box and say agree, that means you have signed this contract. The same as that, right? Remember, in computing, right, this is signing a contract. That's what you have to put a tick here. That's your purpose there. You can't say that I accidentally pressed that button. You can't accidentally press that button. You have to tick that, right? When you come and tick that, it's not accident, it's purposely. That means you have signed an agreement, right? So sometimes people do use, and then you try to do several other tricks, right? And then keep on using that. So of course, these people can take legal action, because they said we have given only 14 days trial. So you have used 18 days, right? That is, you have violated the agreement that you have signed. It's a contract. So these are also coming as object code, by the way. So these are the two methods, like mostly you take software, right? And this is the special thing that I said there is a category which does not have a license, or it's not copyrighted. This is the only method, which is called public domain software. If someone says, okay, public domain, right? Software is not required. So it's public domain. So that is uncopyrighted, right? So that's why, like, whenever you read something and it says public domain software, don't worry, right? You can use it. So there's no owner come and sue you, right? Because mostly these things have been developed by under some government or NGO grants, right? And then, but not many are there like that. So I think none of these you might be using if you are using YouTube DL software, ZevenZip if you are using, that will be zip program, right? So these are the only, so you can later on search on the internet, uncopyrighted or public domain software. So then if it says the license agreement says it's a public domain software, then you don't have to worry about licensing. So this is the only type of software which doesn't have a license. All the others are copyrighted. So there's only one uncopyrighted software, right? So anything, right? So now just I'll take that slide because next we are going to discuss about that. Copyrighted is like proprietary. So it can be like Microsoft or Adobe, right? So many other things, right? These are proprietary software. So the other one is freeware, right? Other one is shareware. And then public domain is not coming because, and then there is another one called free and open source software that is also copyrighted. A lot of people think this is the next thing I'm going to talk about, free and open source. Right? So non-copyrighted or uncopyrighted, only one, that is public domain. Only few software, not many. Right? So if it says public domain, no problem, go ahead, right? And then these are, I put here object code only. These are object code only. Shareware is object code only. Open source, we can say it's not object code, it is source code. It says open source, right? Source code. Here, uncopyrighted, this can be object code or source code, both most of the time available. Because these are just, you can use, most they will give, because if it is given source code only, that what will happen is you have to get an IT guy to compile and get it for you to use it. That's why like they give object code, but anyone wants, your IT department can download the source code and create your own object code. So then you don't have to worry about someone else's object code, right? So you can see these all first three here are object code. Only first gives you the source code, right? And then here I think I have said clear here. Software is a public domain, can modify the corporate placement. Okay, so I have said here, because you can't do that, I should have said like much bit clear. Software can be public domain, can be modified, because you can't modify if it is source code is not given. So please write it down. It can be source code, but most of these things have object code, because if you have source code, anyone can create object code, right? Modified, and then you can distribute as well. Even you can sold, right? Maybe get this software, put it to a nice box and do a nice write-up, and then have a manual done with you, and you can sold. No one is going to come after because it's uncopyrighted. If someone is happy to buy your, let's say, 7-zip software, this is unzipping software, right? So you can get the 7-zip software, and then source code is available. You can do some few modifications and then add some color to that, put a box, right? And then have a nice manual, right? And then you can say 2,500 rupees, maybe people will buy, and no one is going to take you to courts and say that you are selling our software, right? Because it's uncopyrighted. It's like songs, right? If you take, so I think Bharti Santu these days, there's a case going on, like with copyrights again, like if you take someone else's song and you sing, right? Unless that person has given you, right? Or if it is being called public domain, that's even songs, that same context is there, like software. If it is a public domain song, that you can, right? So to my knowledge also, like I'm also not into that area, but I know that even these films after 25 years, it becomes public domain. That's why like Tissa Nagore Vitarana used to purchase before that, and then it belongs to him for another 25 years, whatever. But generally, there are some artistic things also have similar copyrights, right? So then now, if you take uncopyrighted, that is public domain software, that's you can do anything, but not many, right? Don't think everything is here. So that's what like commercial software can be copyrighted, costly, and only this is object code. So machine readable means that, right? And then the next I'm going to talk with you all is open source software, right? That is like source code is available. That's an open source means that source code is available. So having source code only two places. If it is a public domain, yes, there is no problem. So public domain is all right, and there's no copyright. But remember, so open source is copyrighted, right? It's copyrighted. Please write it down. Copyrighted. Okay. Yeah, one last thing on this pirated software. So please do not use illegal copies, because all software except public domain are copyrighted, because you are under the threat of someone, because someone can sue you. Because please be careful, right? Even personally, and especially companies, like if you are again in a reputed company and you know that they are using, that's your duty is to tell them not to do this. It's very, very dangerous, because it is not good for our name. Because if someone takes legal action, it's very bad. Because prosecution can be taken, and there's enough legal coverage in Sri Lanka. So this is just, I think, one or two. This slide probably you might not have. Just I updated it recently. I was looking at and I just saw this one. Where did I put the URL? Okay, I didn't put the URL. That's where like this is from a website. I just took it just to show you like it's a small comparison. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan, right? So this is sort of the median like pirated software, right? This is as of I think 2016. I think 92 out of 100. Sri Lanka was 92 out of 104 countries. Like so, we are in a bad state in that, right? So because we are using more pirated software, but then that's where like Intellectual Property Act, right? Number 36 of 2003 can take a lot of action, right? If you are interested, you can go there and read section 6.1a, right? And then it will tell like what they can do. There are a few other acts also with respect to ICT there to take legal action. Here, just for you all to read what sort of tasks or things you have to remember when you are purchasing software, right? So basically, what sort of task, and then for that task, buy software. So that today, okay, I'm not going one by one, you can read and understand here. But for example, like some people say like, okay, for analysis, we need to buy some software because we got to know that we should not use pirated software. But remember before that, if you are using MS Excel, so there are lots of tools are there for analysis, right? First see whether, because already there are software, they are very powerful. That's where like they are very good proprietary software. But sometimes you are trying to purchase another software because you can do the same thing here, right? Because people will recommend, because I know that software we can do, right? Let's say some analysis software, right? Rather than saying, right? And then if you know that, you can say, no, just use Excel first, right? And then if you don't know, like, okay, watch a video and learn, right, how to do that. and see whether, and if there is a difficulty or if that's not supposed this, so then let's try to buy this software, because if not, this waste of money, right? So likewise, there are some recommendations. I will take a white screen and explain that also. So these are some mistakes people do. Okay, first I will ask a few things and then I will explain that situation. What is a virus guard? Virus guard. So we always used to buy virus guard, right? I think most of you all might be using. What is the role of the virus guard, or what functionality is there on a virus guard? Yeah. You can tell me. No one? No one.
Protect computer from harmful files.
Okay, right. So this is your computer. This is kind of an internet, right? So then when you connect that, you can, viruses can come here, right? So then you said it will protect your computer from here, right? So how does it protect your computer? What is
the virus guard can be a software to protect the computer and all the softwares?
Yeah, that's right. How, yeah, how does it protect your computer?
So they can identify that virus.
They can identify the virus. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then identify the virus. Okay. How does it identify the virus?
Through the software.
Through the software. Okay. Then I will make a scenario here, right? That's good. Like, so this will have a sort of a challenge, and yeah, that's what I want you all to engage. So now you say this is, this can identify virus. We purchase again, my scenario again, 2021 January, you purchase this virus software. This is a new virus created on 2021 May. How does it know? Whether, because now this is, you are purchasing January. So no one knows like what the future virus is going to be in May, right? How can it detect that virus? Yeah, others?
Yeah, sometimes it detects the non-virus file as also virus sometimes.
That is also there, that can be, but yeah, how to identify this virus? That's what, like, how to protect, you said identify virus. Then now my question, next question is how to
Need updates.
Sorry? Updates of what? Okay, good, updates. Updates of what?
Software updates of the virus libraries.
Very good, virus library, full marks, right? So each virus guard has a database, right? So this is, we call virus database. Virus database. Again, now with the COVID injection, it's not the virus you put in, right? Signature. So similarly, these are not viruses in your computer, right? Don't think that a virus will come out from this virus database. And so these are all we call virus signatures, not the real viruses, right? So virus signatures are there in this database, right? So when a new virus comes, it checks the signature of the virus. It knows like from the pattern, right? So then it matches, then it will put to quarantine or it deletes. If not, it will pass. That's why, like some other person said, like non-virus files also been detected because it's has a similar signature in your database, right? So that is a bit unfortunate because this particular good file looks like a virus because of that. But then you have to, this is very key thing, right? You have to update this database. How often? Every year, every month, every 2 years?
Daily you need to.
Yeah. If you can, like every minute, that will be good or something, but you can't do. But basically, yes, daily, right? At least daily, you have to update this because then only you're up to date with the viruses. Then only like May 20th virus, by 22nd, you might have updated it. Now, 23rd, it's going to come to you. You are updated. If you are not being updated, basically the virus is inside. So whatever the virus guard, you don't go and blame the virus guard manufacturer. You have not protected my computer because you are supposed to update and keep it. Right? That's how like operation of a virus guard. And I think this is also one of the example questions I have asked, like how a virus guard protect your computer, right? So yeah, what I'm expecting there is like there is a virus guard database or signature database from that. And then what is the most important functionality, or sorry, important operation of a virus guard, you have to update that, right? At least daily, right? That is very important because that is a key thing. Now, for example, people who are using Windows 8 and Windows 10, it also has its own virus guard. Anyone knows the name of that virus guard?
Defender.
Windows Defender. Yeah. So Windows Defender is there, right? So because of that, if you make to update it automatically, right? So your machine will be protected even without putting another virus guard, right? So I'm not going to compare now whether Kaspersky or let's say Norton or Windows Defender, right, is best. It's all up to you, right? But however, today, because Windows machines were very high with virus attacks, because of that they came up with the product, right? And free of charge it is coming. So it's already there. So whenever you purchase Kaspersky or whatever, so you are basically removing that out and then you are putting the other virus guard into effect here in your computer, right? So no point of putting to 2, 3, 4 because it will slow down your computer. Like you can make it to activate 2, 3 things, but then like database and all 3 databases were expired. Just no point of having 3 databases, right? If they are 1 month old and then yesterday, whatever, or 3 days back, a new virus has been created and that will be not updated your databases, so it can come in. Okay. And the last thing, so before I wind up for today, yeah, that's what I want to discuss with you all. Sometimes people use, like say you have your intranet again. Now we can use the words very easily. So this is your intranet. Let's assume you have 100 computers. All the people are saying that, okay, we need virus guard because a lot of people bring USBs and plug it in. So you are on a network, right? Let's say you're not connected outside, safe, but still viruses can come in through other forms of like input output. And then you want to protect your all the 100 computers, right? And people have said, okay, let's buy, let's say Norton or like Kaspersky, right? For this, let's say like 2,500 rupees, just assume, right? So then into 100 you have to pay and you can get it, right? And then you can ask them to install that everyone. So then you think, okay, we have done it, taken action, and our network is virus free. But after 1 week's time, everyone start completing, still a lot of computers do have viruses. So that now you can understand the reason, because they have put the virus, but these people were not good at like updating, right? So, and then of course, since you are an intranet, right? So then I took an intranet example, right? So you might not be able to go outside, right? That's where, like, let's say this is your IT department, that is we call normally NOC, right? So then at least they should be having internet connection, right? Even though you don't give internet users. So then you have to tell each one from IT, there's a server. So from that server, you have to get it updated, right? Or like they will be having that update file, but people will not do that, right? Then you know, like this is just a waste of money, right? So in this scenario, you should get a network antivirus software, right? So at the network operating center, you have to keep that, right? And then all the hundreds, we have to put clients here. So then this server will automatically communicate. So this will update every day from the internet. And then this will update each and every client whenever they boots up their computer, right? Because you can't trust each and every user will be doing. So if you are doing standalone, if you are purchasing standalone virus guards for each 100 computers and you think that you have done a decision and you have protected your network, it's not a good decision. When you have more numbers, especially like more than 10, you can't really manage. So then basically you have to go for a network. Of course, yeah, these are a bit expensive than you are buying. Like if you multiply this 100 user license, right, a network solution with individual 100 into whatever 2,500, someone can say, this is cheaper, let's buy that. That's not a very good decision. So you never should encourage such a decisions, because this virus guard especially, its use is with the database. If the database is not been updated, just almost like you are not having, right? You might say that we just use it whatever, and if we get more viruses, we'll try to live with it, like what now Corona spreading, like, so either to close down or not, right? So what to do? Or take injection, everyone. It's where like you have to take a good decision and execute it. If not, like we are all in going to be trouble. So same way can happen in the intranet with that kind of a scenario. I think I'm almost done. I think next is to start discussing about free and open source software. So I will discuss that when we meet next week. But if you have any questions, you can ask from me. I will answer. If you do not have any questions, so then I will wind up for today, and we'll meet next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.